No, I used to hang out with Norm MacDonald a lot. Me and Norm were really close.
God, I loved him.
And we used to go play tennis. And after we'd play tennis, we'd go into like the 7-Eleven. And we'd always do this thing where we go, okay, we're going to go in together. And each of us has to point at one item and make a joke about it. And it was really hard. Like people think making jokes as a comedian is easy, but it's not. But I'll never forget Norm did this. It's the only one I remember. But I pointed to, you remember those things, animal crackers?
Yeah.
And I pointed to the animal crackers, and Norm just goes, that horse cock didn't taste very good.
There's a lot of guys who sort of all of a sudden are like real big
Everyone's
players.
doing
Norm.
well,
Norm got his own TV.
Norm's doing well. What?
What?
Do you hang out with Norm, or is it impossible?
It's pretty impossible because he's crazy.
He is.
In L.A., I call him and he goes, I go, what happened last week? I called you to go on. You called me? And I go, yeah. On my phone? I go, yeah. And he goes, oh, yeah, I got that. I go, you didn't call me back? No.
And he's serious.
Yeah, he's crazy.
And yeah, I know. Like, I have him on the show.
I love him, though. He's the funniest guy around. I think you need to be kind of crazy to be really funny.
He is very funny. I love him, too. And he has a gambling problem, you know.
Yeah.
He was telling us how
secret,
he was all excited that he had $80,000. He won $80,000 in Vegas, but he had lost like $100,000 on basketball.
Right.
And that's on nickel slots. That's how serious he is.
Did you always know he had a gambling problem?
Mm-hmm.
You did. When did you know that? At Saturday Night Live?
I first knew he had a pee in a bottle problem.
Right.
Remember that? You always talk about
Yeah, it's
that.
great.
And then I knew...
Does he still save his urine? Do you know?
I don't know. He used to put it in Ziploc baggies, sign it, and send it to fans.
Is that true?
No.
Oh.
But he did. He would take... After Saturday Night Live, they give you a car, a limousine, if you want to go to the party, and he would take it to Atlantic City.
Really?
He's a hard ass. He's hardcore, dude. I
know he'll even get into fist fights.
And then he'll stay at a table for hours and hours.
What do you think of that?
I feel lucky.
And then you don't even know if he's married or single. It's never really clear.
I don't know, but I know girls like him. He's when you're something's that wrong, they pick up on it and like it.
They like the tragedy of that.
Fixer upper, yeah.
Right. Yeah, I'm gonna make him a regular guy.
Right, but it never
I
worked.
don't know if Norm still tours. You'd be a good compliment for Norm, man.
You don't think I'm too much, too similar?
I don't know. I think it'd be funny.
Jeez, he's my hero.
I think it'd be work. Yeah.
I'd be blown away.
Yeah, the guy's amazing.
Never met him.
Very funny. Well, it's such an impressive stand-up to see live. You know?
Yeah.
Because you think right before he goes on, I opened up for him for about a year, and after we did Dirty Work, and then he always think like no matter where you are, you think like he's not going to make it. Like he goes, he's holding his stomach. He goes, I can't do this, man. I'm not going to make it here. I don't want to go on. I don't want to go on. I want to quit. Like, he'll be fine. He'll be fine. And you got to push him in front of the microphone. And then he does an hour and 45 and like destroys. Doesn't take the mic out like this, like, and then he just leaves.
Yeah. I saw him at Caroline's when I was broke. I was poor. I wasn't even in the club, so I had to pay the real fee. You know, I couldn't be like, I'm a comic. They didn't know me.
I know.
And
you mean the fair prices over there too?
Yeah, right. I spent like $70.
That's great when you're broke.
Yeah, and I went and saw him, and he was killing, and he got heckled in the middle of the show, and he's drinking a Coca-Cola, and he just goes, "It's dead silent. There's tension. Like, what's he gonna say?" And he just goes, "I don't know what to do about that," you know. And then he goes back to the act. I've never seen anyone handle a heckle like that.
I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
Now sometimes I just go,
Funniest guy on the planet.
No, he really is. He's up there. He's very, very funny. He's a fun guy to talk. See, doing the road with a guy like that is fun for the late night conversations that last till 6 in the morning about show business, about who he hates.
Yeah,
like you start talking about who you hate.
Yes.
Oh, it's fantastic.
That's the funnest stuff.
Oh, and who sucks and who you hate and this and that and the other thing, and then of course
Norm stories.
I got 2 good Norm stories.
Good.
My first comedy club gig ever is in Catch a Rising Star, Princeton. And Norm MacDonald, this is 1990 or 91. Norm's done a few local talk shows in America, small time, but he hasn't made it in America. He's kind of got a little following, but now he's starting to headline in America at comedy clubs. This is at a time where in New Jersey, if you weren't telling dirty nursery rhymes wearing a leather jacket, you weren't really interesting to anybody. But here's Norm, this goofy Canadian accent, really telling these long, weird bits for 8 shows. And he probably bombed 3 out of 8 shows. Whenever he killed, he would kill, when it was a sophisticated crowd, he would get him and he would kill. He would just go backstage, he'd pull out a deck of cards, and he'd make me and Rich Voss play poker with him. When he bombed, Norm would go to the exit and say goodbye to every single person who left. Just to be weird and make us laugh and be awkward for the people. He would thank everyone for coming after he bombed.
Serious?
He was such a nut.
I love that. That's a committed person. But that's what I love.
You were Norm's assistant?
And I was Norm's assistant, and I wish I could like go back to
You
those
got any
days.
Norm stories?
Yeah, I hear this is my best Norm story.
Yeah.
So I went to the guys would like take me out, like Keckner and Norm and Spade, and they're all fucking gems, like really, really nice guys. They were always so nice to me, and I think they liked having me around because I was like a young kid, and I would laugh, you know, and I was just in fucking heaven, like. So they take me out. They took me out one night, and they were getting drunk and whatever, and so I meet this Australian girl, and you know, we go back, fool around, whatever, and I come into work the next day. And I turn to Norm and I go, I gotta tell you something, man. I go, and don't tell anybody. And he goes, oh yeah, I won't tell anybody, you know. And I go, like, last night, I know with this girl, the girl at the bar, she goes, she snorted cocaine off my cock. Like that. And I was like, I don't know, I'm 20 years old or whatever, you know, and I'm like, I couldn't believe it. I'm in the city for the first time, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
And he goes, wow. He goes, oh my God, that's crazy. Cocaine out of your cock. And I go, but don't tell anybody, you know, 'cause I don't want anyone to know. Like, and so then maybe like, I don't know, 5 minutes later, the fucking UPS guy comes in, you know, with the packages or whatever. And he's like, oh, hey, Daryl. And he's like, hey, Norm, how you doing? He's like, hey, you see this guy right here? Guy likes to get cocaine snorted off his cock. And I was like, you know, now I wouldn't be embarrassed, but I'm fucking mortified. I'm like, I'm gonna get fired.
yeah.
And he did it. He did it for like 3 months.
To everybody.
At any point, like I'd be standing there with the jokes. He'd be like, Jason, go get the jokes. And he'd be smoking in the hallway, and he'd be like, no. Because, you know, he fucking had like a really high bar for jokes. And fuck that. I'd be like, oh my God. And then there'd be like a page standing next to him. He'd be like, hey, you know, Jason? Guy likes to have cocaine snorted off his guy. So fucking funny. He did it to my mom. He said it to my mom once.
No.
Yeah. And then I remember because the other part of the job was that I would work the door at the parties. And my mom came down for the party.
At the after party.
The after party.
Yeah.
And she, and I was trying to keep Norm away from my mom so he wouldn't say that to my mom. And of course he goes, you know, Jason likes to have cocaine. Snorted off his cock. And my mom was great. She goes, well, I bet you do a lot of weird stuff too, Norm.
Can you share some of the stuff?
With Norm?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That you have with Norm?
It was just, he reached out. He was a big, when people were going through it, Norm was one of the guys that would always reach out. And yeah, that was it. Just reached out. He sent me some cool stuff about like, funny will win.
Yeah.
That was the coolest shit ever.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He
that's
was
amazing.
like, there's a war right, I don't want to spill the beans on a nice thing, but it was like,
You guys had a private thing.
yeah, it was cool.
But
and
he
it
was
ended,
very supportive when you were going
he
through your
spoke
stuff.
like poetically.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
Yeah.
And it ended, one of the messages ended with like, in a war for comedy, I think the ones with jokes will win. And I was just like, yo,
Yeah.
That's fire.
Norm MacDonald is king.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he
amazing.
in no way has to do that.
No,
You know what I mean?
No.
To reach out, you know, especially at that time, I thought was really cool.
it was 2 years ago. I mean, he had,
Yeah, as he's battling something, no disrespect,
Yes.
way worse.
yeah.
You know what I mean? He's like, hey,
Yeah.
you need help?
I was with Adam Egget most of the time in Austin. The guy, you know Adam?
Yeah. From
And-
the store, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So me and Adam went to the Cowboys Eagles game and we were hanging out, and the whole time, because he was best friends with Norm.
Yeah.
So he was like
Yeah.
going through it, but he went through it the same way as like we just talked like Norm the whole time. Like the whole game, we'd be like, he must have. Yeah, he got hit pretty hard. You know what's worse than getting hit like that? Blood cancer. It's no good, that blood cancer. Just like that the whole time. It was great. I hope that wasn't sharing too much for Adam.
Nah.
But it was fun. Norm's the best.
Yeah.
Well, it was, but he died of fucking. Oh, right. I forgot he fucking vanished.
Yeah.
Norm.
Yeah.
Classic.
Years old, right? And I'm 16 in the audience. And then I got to become this huge fan of Norm. And he was Norm. But back then, there wasn't a lot of people doing stand-up like Norm. Like, there wasn't this sort of angle of sort of this absurdity to it, this sort of, it was more of a structured, down the middle way of doing stand-up back then. And so Norm was this sort of, it
was a curveball.
Yeah, this sort of curveball, and we just couldn't get enough of it. So every time we was in town, we'd be down there. But Howard Wagman told me this story about Norm, and the first time he came down to do stand-up at Yuck Yucks in Ottawa, and he got off stage, and he was disappointed in how it went. Norm was. He said, "I'm never doing this again." He walked down the street. Howard Wagman chased him down Spark Street in Ottawa and said, "No, that was great. You're coming back." And he made him come back, and the rest is history.
I was on a plane with him accidentally twice.
Nice.
Twice.
That must have been amazing.
Twice on two separate occasions. Just totally random. We sat next to each other on the plane. I'm like, whoa, this is crazy.
Yeah.
And the last one, it was so funny because he was telling me about how he quit smoking. Yeah, I quit smoking. It's fucking, turns out it's real bad for you. Like, this whole thing about quitting smoking. And we're talking about it, like, how hard was it to quit? This whole thing. The moment we land, he walks into the gift shop, buys a pack of cigarettes, and he's lighting them before he gets out the door.
Yeah.
And I go, I thought you quit. He goes, I did, but all that talking about it made me want to smoke.
Yeah, it's probably all an elaborate setup, right? He probably was planning it the whole way.
I don't know.
Who knows? He probably doesn't even smoke. He was just doing it as a gag. No, he was.
Did you know he was sick?
I didn't know.
No, me either. You said you had two stories. There was what's the other one?
Oh, so he'd invite me over to SNL once in a while to play poker on off nights, on Monday nights or something. And to watch him play poker while watching Monday Night Football and a baseball game, like he was a gambler.
Right.
And I guess somehow one time I found myself on a tape night on a live SNL. I'm in the hallway with a bunch of pages, writers, basically plus ones filling out the hallway. I don't know if I'm sure you've been up there enough to know that where the reception is, there's a lot of hubbub.
Right.
You can go to the dressing rooms this way, and to the right is the studio, and makeup, and there's a lot going on.
Yeah.
I believe Rosie O'Donnell was hosting SNL, and her very best friend Penny Marshall was there to support her. Penny Marshall, at the height of her movie director swag, is walking through the hallway with her head down, sunglasses on, baseball hat, doesn't want to be bothered, treating all these basically writers and NBC employees and me and Norm as big-timing us, pretending we're just looky-loos out on the street, right? Just doing a celebrity don't bother me moment.
Flyby.
Flyby, thank you. And Norm picks up on it, and he just starts pointing and screaming, Laverne! 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 And she didn't look up. She never knew it was Norm. She was just gone.
Oh, my gosh.
And, of course, the whole hallway's falling down. Like,
I wonder if he's doing it.
He did Last Comic Standing. He was the only honest judge. He would tell comics they were hacks. It was awesome. The comics hated him. Joe List did it, and he goes, Joe, you're a very good writer. And Anthony Jeselnik goes, hey, Joe, that Norm just called you ugly, which is such a great line.
Damn.
But, oh, my God.
I met him twice, and the first time I met him was I was doing this comedy-style competition at Caroline's, and it was the Final Four. It was me, Dan Soder, who eventually beat me in the final two. It was me, Soder, Nick Cobb, and Adam Newman.
Wow.
And Norm MacDonald was just chilling in the crowd, watching.
Damn.
And he couldn't have been nicer. He was so freaking nice to all of us.
Yeah.
Complimenting our acts, being like, man, I could never do this type of thing, So cool. And then the other time I met him was on Last Comic Standing when he was a judge, and I got eliminated in the first round. I had a pretty good set, better than a lot of people who moved on, but it's NBC. Let's face it.
That's how it goes.
But
I remember I had one joke that Norm singled out and goes, "That joke is gold," and that to me was like it was to me. I didn't even feel that bad. I got locked off because I was like, Norm Macdonald, who is the judge that I connected to his work the most. It was Roseanne and Keenan. I connect to Roseanne's politics, of course, but no. But it was Roseanne and Keenan Ivory Wayans, and like obviously I love In Living Color, but Norm, I'm a comic. Norm was the guy I connected with, and the joke he loved was I said, my last girlfriend was a hoarder, and she broke up with me, which stings extra hard. I'm like the one thing she can get rid of. And he said he loved that joke, and then I got Keenan kind of digged me in the last comic thing. He said, I like some of your jokes, but not all of them. And I said, well, I loved all your scary movie films. And it got a huge laugh. And he said, I only did the first two. And I was like, all right. I remember I saw Norm in the food. Yeah. He couldn't let it pass. Yeah. He couldn't take the L. And that one, I knew I was out after that.
Right.
And then I'm walking through the thing. It was like a break. I guess they were taking a break, the paid audience. And I see Norm and he goes, I really like that you dug it.
Oh.
So that was a special moment.
He's the real deal. He really is.
Yeah, I think he could tell. And I said I met you once at Caroline's, and I told him I really...
Because my story with Norm it doesn't start out great, because I did Last Comic Standing in 2000 and whatever. It never aired. And I did my joke, and I did well, and it was him. It was Damon Wayans and Roseanne.
Yeah.
And Roseanne liked me. Damon Wayans, he was like not... He was just like, yeah. He just like smiled and laughed. I think he said right on. I don't know what he was just like barely there. Like he wasn't, I don't remember anything either way. And then Norm was like, how many years have you been doing comedy? I'm like, 4. He's like, what? It takes 10 years to be a comedian. What are you doing here? I was like, ah. And I remember that was the biggest gut punch I got in stand-up. And I remember being at the Hilton by where they shoot all those shows. By where is that? Universal City?
Yeah.
That area?
Yeah.
I was in the Hilton and I was just like I couldn't even eat. I was like, this is horrible. And then I spoke to one of the comics I was staying with at that point, and he was like, Last Comic Standing. He's like, you go in there and they pay legends to tell you not to do what you love, which is kind of what... But I got over it. I kept doing it. And then he became a fan of us later on and a lot of shit we were doing. And he was right. I was a 4-year, 5-year comic then. It's like, you do need more time to mature.
But he used to, speaking of Spade, when we did, we all staying at the hotel in Boston, this nice hotel. And one day we were just sitting in Spade's room because he had a big room,
Yeah.
And we're all sitting there and then suddenly the door rings and it's like $800 worth of like steaks and stuff like that. And then Spade's like, I don't think I ordered this. No, goes, I ordered it. I figured you said you were hungry before. And he's like, and he would do it all the time. Spade, and then Spade would just be like, so funny along, like, I don't know if I wanted to pay for everybody's eat. These people I don't even know. Like, I figured we'll have you're hungry. Everybody's probably hungry. You guys are hungry. You just be sitting there and you eat like the steak, like just cut it like, a cartoon technique.
Yeah, right.
This is good steak.
With his oversized t-shirt.
And it would play off each other. Watching them was like one of the funniest things, like watching a TV show.
I was writing like bad sketch jokes my first year in LA with a friend of mine at the Coffee Bean. I don't even think it's there anymore, across from the mall. And it's late and they're about to close down. And in walks Norm Macdonald. And the girl says to me, who I'm writing with, this girl that I worked with at a production company, she says to me, she goes, oh yeah, you know who that is, right? And I go, holy fuck, holy shit. And she goes, that's the Bob Dole guy. I go, the Bob Dole guy?
Oh, I would have ripped her eyes out.
I mean, I was like, it's fucking Norm Macdonald. And she's like, no, I know, I forgot his name. I was like,
oh,
what?
God.
So we sit there and I'm kind of fanboying out and I'm just kind of, like not trying to face him, and he's ordering coffee and I keep kind of looking over just to like, cause you just want to get a glimpse. Cause when I'm 22, I just moved to LA. I was like, fuck, holy shit, it's Norm Macdonald. He comes in there where the coffee is. He looks over. She's a pretty girl. Okay. And obviously doesn't see me at all, doesn't know I exist. And he's kind of trying to talk her up a little bit. He's like, what are you guys doing? And she goes, oh, we're we're writing sketches. And he goes, oh, yeah, I know a thing or two about sketches. And both of us were like, yeah, no, we know. Like, and I started stumbling. I'm like, no, I was a fan of your sketches. You know. And he goes, oh, okay. Well, I'm gonna go next door. I'm gonna get a Steinbeck novel. Barnes and Noble. There used to be a Barnes and Noble. He goes, yeah, I'm gonna get a Steinbeck novel. I'm laughing, thinking he's just making jokes. And he goes, I'll be back. Okay, I'll be back. And he walks out, and I'm like, whoa, how fucking cool was that? Hand to God. He comes back in with a Steinbeck novel and sits down by us and just starts talking.
Oh my God.
I swear on my life.
Oh my God.
It was almost like you started a Norm engine and he just wanted to talk. So he just started talking and talking and talking and telling stories. And I shouldn't tell it, like, I don't want to fuck it up, but the best story he told, I said, what was your most, like, secret fun thing that happened at SNL that, like, you know, like, what was some inside shit? And he goes, Smigel and I, Robert Smigel. If you don't know who Robert Smigel is, he's Triumph the Insult Comic Dog. He's the voice and the genius behind that. Smigel's a fucking phenomenal genius writer and comedian. He goes, Smigel and I, we used to write sketches for Tracy, because we knew Tracy Morgan. We knew Tracy, you know, he was bad in table reads. He couldn't read for shit. You know, he's a fucking stumble through words, you know. So one time we wrote this sketch that we knew was going to tank. Lauren hated it. And we showed it to Tracy anyway because we knew he had trouble reading. He had someone helping him read. He had bad time with S's. So we wrote this sketch about this guy who's like a gay animal handler named Brian Fellows. Do you remember that sketch?
Yeah.
Brian Fellows? And he goes, if you look, the best part for us was it was Brian Fellows, apostrophe S, Safari Planet. It was 3 S's in a row is the sketch that we pitched. So in the room, even though the sketch was bad, we knew Tracy would go, Brian Fellows, this is Brian Fellows, this is Safari Planet. And we knew we would crush in the room. He goes, and everybody lost it. The sketch, he was like, the sketch was terrible. But Tracy would go, Brian Fellows, this is Safari Planet. And Norm goes, and he goes, that is the funniest thing. We used to fuck with Tracy all the time. And dude, I was like, my heart was filled with comedy warmth. This is the most wild part. Again, I don't believe that this happened. To myself, I'm going, this is a lie. You're making this up.
Right.
But she's my proof. We walk out when they finally close the doors. After they're like, Mr. McDonald, you can stay. You know, the Coffee Bean kids are sitting just listening. We all walk outside, and he starts taking off, kind of headed north on La Cienega. And as a joke, my friend goes, do you want to ride? Are you walking? And he goes, no, I don't want to get in the car with you. And we start laughing, and he goes, okay, shotgun. And he comes and runs, sits in the front seat.
No.
I swear to God on my life.
Oh, my God.
Her car. I'm sitting in the back seat, and he's showing us where to go, and we drop him off at his house, and at this complex. And he gets out, and he kind of opens the door, and we didn't say anything the whole car ride.
Right.
We just listened to him going, left here, right here. And he gets out, and he turns and looks in the car, and all he said,
or tattoos, you know, like of me as Joe Dirt. You know, they send you, a lot of people get a lot of tattoos of stuff, like things you say or photos or whatever, or they send me ones of Farley or whatever. So this guy sends me he's got Norm of all morons on his hand, Norm MacDonald. So I text Norm, I just send it to him. I go, hey, you have fans. And then I put in parentheses, fan. all we know is for sure this one guy. And then of course, like days later, David, hello, it's me, Norm. How are you? Have you ever texted with Norm?
No, I haven't. No.
Times 1,000. He just goes, he waits days, and then at 3 a.m, hello? I go, Norm, what are you doing? Are you answering me from 4 days ago? Is that what you're doing? Dave, it's Norm. Do you like money? Yes, Norm, I like money. Why? Would you like to have more money than all your wildest dreams? Yes, I would. And then an hour later, would you like to walk into a dealership and point to a car and then just buy it? I go, of course. How? And then 3 hours later, bet the over in the Blackhawks game in the first quarter. First period or something. I go, oh, okay. Too bad that game was 6 days ago, you fucking idiot.
When Norm MacDonald, I wonder what you think of this. He said, do you want to, I think he was talking about Bill Maher. There are a number of comedians you can do this with, I suppose. But he said, do you want to be a comedian or do you want to be a smart guy? Do you are you going to pick? Are you going to pick? Where are you philosophically on that?
Oh, I want to be a smart guy. Like Norm, and I love Norm MacDonald. He is my hero. He is one of my idols
We worked together on Last Comic Standing and did not get along. I took the job to work with him. Our philosophies were very different, and his criticisms of the other comics. He was a judge. I was the host. I was surprised by, and so just very different philosophically. All the respect in the world for Norm and what he did. It was amazing. I never try to replicate what he. No, not that I would change anything about Norm Macdonald. It's very different.
You didn't get along, though. You thought you were going to get along. You were hoping to get along, and one of your heroes.
I wanted to be best friends, but I think we were both, and we figured it out. But I think we were both a little disappointed in the job we had taken, and saw the other comedians on the show, and we're like, "Fuck, what are we doing here?" And so we were both not in the greatest of moods, and then would butt heads a little bit. Like I don't. Just because he's my idol didn't mean that I backed down at all. I kind of treated Last Comic Standing like it was my show, and no one else thought that. And so yeah, we were gonna butt heads, but that's okay.
It is okay, but I wonder if you're going in thinking someone's going to be your best friend. You're a loner. He's a hero of yours. I imagine a bit of an inspiration at least. And yes, of course, it's okay that you didn't get along, but it would have been better than okay if you had.
Sure, but it didn't make me like him less or respect him less. It was like this is an issue of mine and his. Like neither one of us had a lot of friends or was around people a lot of the time. But yeah, I think just right off the bat, I think he said something. I made fun of him for it. He wasn't happy about it, and I was like, I'm going to keep making fun of you because I took this job. And I'm not just gonna sit here and like let you take over. And that was it was a tough week. We did 8 episodes of that show. Yeah.
And neither one of you liked being there because you thought the show was going to be something different, or you thought this particular thing, once you realized it wasn't up to your standard, you're like, what have I done? Or
I think Norm and I thought this was going to be like the Norm. I thought this was going to be the Norm and Anthony show where the comics go and perform, and they're all bad. Like they're all like young comics doing 3 minutes. It's not like the comics were bad, but it was still all about them. And if the comics were really bad and we said something funny about it, then that whole thing was cut from the show because they only wanted to show the good comics. So Norm and I were like, what are we doing here? If we can't give our real opinion, you don't want anyone to be mean. And there's 100 fucking contestants. We were both just like, this is not the best use of our time.
Legendary baseball announcer Bob Uecker recently passed away on January 16th, 2025 at 90 years old, which I think is a ripe old age for a sports commentator. You might remember Bob from Real Sports Commentary, or if you're like me, you first saw him in the legendary comedy baseball movie Major League, where he played Harry Doyle. No matter where you knew Bob Uecker from, he was beloved by many, including comedians Norm Macdonald and Artie Lange. Given the time, I thought I would pay homage to the late great Bob Uecker by talking a little bit about him and also revisiting some of Norm and Artie's favorite stories about Bob. Not only was Bob a great baseball commentator, but he was also known to be an incredibly funny guy with a big personality and a sailor's vocabulary. Norm Macdonald, being an avid viewer of sports and loving the craft of comedy, naturally came to love Bob Uecker as a friend when their paths finally crossed. Norm also loved Bob because he was a deeply closeted gay man. Anyway, the story begins because Norm actually did a pretty silly commercial with Bob Uecker and Steve Higgins where he hits on a lady and tries to lie down on top of her. This was back when Norm was doing the Norm Show where he played Norm, and this commercial is originally what brought Bob, Norm, and Artie together for the first time.
Hi.
Oh, yeah, hi.
You seem a little slow there.
Well, I was stunned by your beauty. Buy you a Miller Lite, it tastes great.
Sure, but I like it because it's less filling.
Huh? Well, opposites attract. That's a good one. You want to go someplace and talk?
Yeah.
Grab a Miller Lite. It's Miller time.
Rookie. The little cameo from Bob at the end is the icing on the cake for a great commercial. There's not a lot of commercials that make me want to drink and drive into a hot woman's house, but this one sure did take the cake for me. If you look at the comments on this video, it's filled with classic Norm references, which just makes this old commercial even better to visit on YouTube. Then Norm and Artie made an appearance on the Howard Stern Show back in the late 2000s, and Howard proceeded to ask them about their experiences working and hanging out with Bob Uecker. Artie had originally shared a story about Bob Uecker Uecker on Late Show with David Letterman, and apparently the story did not give a super flattering image of Bob based on some of his filthy language he uses when he's not on the air talking about baseball. Artie tells the story of how they met Bob and also the story that got him in trouble with Bob on the Howard Stern show.
I talked to Bob Uecker, by the way.
Oh, did you? Did you see that?
Yeah,
Was he mad?
Whatever.
Was he really?
Was he? What do you mean?
Last time I went on Letterman, I told a story about Bob Uecker. Norm did a commercial with him for light beer.
Okay.
So it was when we were doing the Norm show. So he invited Norm out to spring training in Phoenix, Arizona. And said, "Look, man, come the fuck out to Arizona, man." You know, he's a guy you hear on the TV.
Yeah, Bob Uecker.
Right, but he's so filthy when he talks. Every other word is fuck. It's unbelievable.
Right.
And he's one of the funniest guys I've ever met.
Right.
So Norm says to me, "Hey, man, let's go hang out with Uecker," because he knows I'm a big fan. So we go to Arizona. And it's the funniest 24-hour period I've ever spent. We played a round of golf with Bob Uecker, and he let us sit in the booth to listen to him announce a Brewer Cub game. He had a cough button. You know, if you're going to cough, you hit the cough button and you're not on the air.
Sure.
So, from what I remember, Norm may not remember this because he's friends with Bob Uecker. But anyway, Uecker would be announcing the baseball game.
Right.
And like a fucking jazz musician. It was unbelievable. If he saw a really hot chick in the crowd, he would hit the cough button and say something filthy about her. So he would say shit like this. He'd go, here's the 2-2 pitch to Sosa, ground ball to shortstop. Look at the fucking tits on that whore. Over to first base, 2 down.
And he'd hit the button that quickly.
That's the story I told on Letterman. I cleaned it up.
Right.
And he started using like old guy words for the chicks. Like he'd go, fly ball to center field. God, I'd like to get with that trollop. That's the third out.
To me, this story is hilarious, and it really sucks that Bob didn't like it, because I would imagine that this impression of Bob crushed on the Letterman show. It's just fucking funny to think that Bob Uecker had to be so clean-cut and professional on the microphone when he was commentating baseball, but the second he was off the air, he would just immediately let loose and start cussing up a storm. Norm also told a story about Bob Uecker on Letterman, but we will get to that one a little later on in the video. Then Norm tells the story on Stern about the time they were with Bob, and they saw singer John Fogerty.
So he sees John Fogerty, you know, from Creedence Clearwater Revival. So he's like, "Hey, man, that fucker's a rock singer." He goes, "But he can get out of the sand trap like nobody's fucking business. I played in a charity tournament with him." So we're like, yeah, we know who John Fogerty is. And he goes, at the 7th inning stretch, I'll have the fucker come up and sing for you.
Fogerty's there with his kid, by the way. He's a big Cub fan. He's here with his 8-year-old son, John Fogerty.
So we're like, no, you don't have to do that.
Right,
you know?
don't get John Fogerty to sing.
Leave him
for us.
alone. It's all right. We don't want him singing in front of us.
So then he gets mad at us. He goes, "Do you even know who fucking John Fogerty is?" So we go, yeah, he did Creedence Clearwater Revival. He goes, "Yeah, he did all that fucking shit."
This is one of my favorite stories Norm has ever told because he really does Bob Uecker justice with the impression of him. It reminds me a lot of this scene from the movie Major League where Bob Uecker curses on the air.
That's all. We got one goddamn hit.
You can't say goddamn on the air.
Don't worry, nobody's listening anyway.
A classic movie scene from Bob. Norm also told the John Fogerty story on Letterman, and even though it's censored for television, the story is every bit as funny as it was on Stern, and it's probably the hardest I've ever seen David Letterman laugh on his own show since he had on Charles Grodin back in the 80s. Anyway, after Norm told the John Fogerty story, he talks about Bob's reaction to Artie telling the story about him on Letterman, and he also added a few additional stories about Bob after this, and it's so fucking funny to listen to the whole thing.
A couple weeks ago, 3 weeks, a month ago, whatever, for spring training, and I went up to the booth, and he goes, "Man," what about that fucking Artie Klein?
Artie Klein.
The funniest thing is he goes, "That cocksucker must be running a little short of material."
So even as a non-comedian, Bob Uecker was just an incredibly funny man. He probably had what it takes to be a part of the elite 250 comedians that exist in the world. No more, no less. As a younger fella though, I might not have gotten to see Bob Uecker in action as much as a more distinguished fella, but from the stories Norm MacDonald and Artie Lang told, as well as his awesome role as Harry Doyle in the movie Major League, I can't help but love the guy, and I'm very upset to hear about him losing his life. I'm just happy I got to appreciate the guy in some way away and some of the hilarious interactions he had with a few of my favorite comedians. Also, if you'd like to hear Norm's story on Letterman and also a few more stories about Bob Uecker, you could check out The Appearance for yourself, and also this video where Artie shares a few more stories about Bob Uecker that are all really, really funny to listen to. Long live Bob Uecker, long live Norm MacDonald, and how the fuck did Artie Lang manage to outlive both of these guys? Anyway, I hope you guys got something from this. I really just wanted to take a couple minutes today and share a few of my favorite Bob Uecker stories from Norm and Artie Lang to commemorate what an amazing life Bob Uecker had, and I really hope you all enjoyed it. But what do you guys think? Did you love these stories from Norm MacDonald and Artie Lang? Did you hate the stories? Do you think Bob Uecker owns a doghouse? Also, do you think Artie went too far by sharing those stories on Letterman? Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Also, please check out my second channel if you guys want to support me more and get to know me better as a person. I'd really appreciate if you could check it out, but if not, it's up to you. I totally understand. I really appreciate all the likes, comments, shares, and subscribers, and I can't thank you guys enough for all the support I've received lately on both channels. That's all I got for you guys today. I love you, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care. Norm MacDonald is one of the most respected comedians to ever walk the planet, and in his time alive, he had a reputation for being a very dangerous choice as a host, whether it be at the ESPY Awards.
That is something that no one can ever take away from you. Unless you kill your wife and a waiter, in which case...
or hosting Weekend Update.
Well, it is finally official. Murder is legal in the state of California.
If you had Norm host your show or event, there was always a chance that he'd make you regret it. Today we're going to take an introspective look at the time Norm MacDonald was invited to host the show before the show on YouTube's big live comedy show and absolutely shat on it in the funniest possible way. YouTube Comedy Week was met with a lot of bad reception from comedy fans, and most people don't remember the actual event fondly at all. But a lot of people remember Norm making this dumpster fire of an event watchable in the first place. Let's not waste any more time, and let's hop right into it. The show starts off with Jenny Slate and Kasim G introducing themselves, and within a minute, Norm establishes his comedy dominance and starts clowning on the event as a whole.
And joining us in the show before the show living room is host of Norm MacDonald Live on YouTube, the wonderful Norm MacDonald.
Yes, and Jenny, all the stars are here.
Do you want a microphone, Norm?
Yes. Is that my tree?
What a disaster.
Jenny, all the stars are here.
It's true.
Beardy Man, Claude Racine, Dax Flame, Betty Fine,
You got it.
and Raphael Fine. All the stars
You really keep up with all that
are
stuff.
here tonight. Oh, yes. Harley Morenstein is here.
All right. And we also have comedian Todd Glass. He'll be hanging out backstage with some of tonight's guests. And host...
I feel like Todd will be struggling to know these people.
I'm sorry, I'm going to continue with the what the computer says, Norm, although I'd love to talk to you more than this computer.
We're on
but
the
I have to do
computer.
what the computer says, even though I do love you, Norm. I think you're one
Okay.
of the best. We're also going to be talking to the
Well,
host
I'm no Harley Morenstein.
You're not, Norm, but you gotta just let me read this fucking thing.
Okay, so we have Jenny Slate in a business casual dress, Kasim G in a blazer and khakis, and Norm MacDonald is wearing fucking sweatpants and a hoodie in the beating red sun of Los Angeles, California. God damn it, dude. He's reading the names of these people with not a care in the world, and it made me laugh way harder than it should have. You can also see Kasim cracking the fuck up as Norm does this at several other parts. It's great to see Kasim being a good sport about the ribbing early on. More on this later. So as Norm berates and interrupts Jenny in the intro, we eventually get to the first guest, which are the Lonely Island, and this has some of the funniest lines from the entire segment.
We're joined by the talented trio called the Lonely Island.
Yeah,
who
you know
will be
what I
on the
call
big.
them?
What do you call them?
I call him Sandberg and the other couple of fellows.
The Mind Squad
The
is
other
how Rolling Stone put it.
You guys ever been to a thing like this? No. What do you think?
Nothing like this.
It feels so pro and real. Am I on TV? Am I on the internet?
We don't know.
Oh, you're on the computer.
You're on a velvet couch. You're on a maroon velvet couch in the beating hot sun.
Hey, can I ask a serious question? I mean, fuck all these jokes. When you name yourselves, right?
Yeah.
Do you ever have fucking moments of regret later because it's permanent, almost like a tattoo?
Absolutely. Yeah, The Lonely Island, I was outvoted.
Oh, you were?
Yeah.
What were the other runner-up names?
Well, our first album was called Incredibad, and I wanted that to be the name of the band. But
How do you guys feel in your bodies? Do you feel healthy and strong?
Absolutely not.
I could be eating better.
Yeah.
Yeah, digestion could be going better.
Yeah. I feel like that about
Hey,
myself.
enough of these fucking jokes. Can I ask one more serious question?
Hit me with a real one, Norm.
The Lonely Island. You think of all islands as kind of lonely.
Do you really want to hear the story?
Yes, please.
I do
We could
too.
do
a real short version, which is just basically it was what we called the apartment we lived on Olympic with all the traffic. It was a sarcastic name from a sarcastic Tennessee Williams style sketch we did about the apartment. Akiva wrote a one-act play.
God damn, I wish I had a time machine.
To see that action.
Yeah, no, to take back my question.
The entire time Norm is riffing with Andy, he keeps throwing in the phrase, on the computer, which is just way funnier than it should be. Seriously, nobody but Norm could make this as funny as it was. It's also funny when anybody else tries to riff or ask a goofy question, Norm just cuts it off and says,
Hey, can I ask a serious question? I mean, fuck all these jokes.
Myself.
Enough of these fucking jokes.
Then we get to the best part of The Lonely Island, which is this.
Thought you were going to say to murder Hitler.
I would not. You know, people always fucking want to murder Hitler with their time machine, right? But then I feel if I got back there, I'd be afraid of falling under the spell of his fucking beautiful eyes.
It's true.
And oratory, and
he
then
locked in the gaze.
yeah, and then I join the fucking party,
That's
knowing
his
me.
thing. He gives you his full attention. You're like, whoa,
All
wait
right.
a minute. Maybe there's
Norm,
something to
I'm
this guy.
No, but before you ask another serious
Believe
question,
it or
we
not,
gotta
they're
move
telling
on.
us to wrap it up. I don't exactly
I don't
know
want
why
to.
you
Wrap
got
it. This is fun for everyone.
It's the
For the
Lonely
record,
Island, guys.
I would have killed Hitler. So thanks, gentlemen.
Can I just clarify? if I did go back in time to kill Hitler, I would do it.
Yeah, yeah.
I wouldn't get
That's
lost
the-
in
that's
his
the front
eyes
door
and then
choice.
bail.
Yeah.
Just so
Well,
I don't
thanks
get
for-
like
thanks for
hit
having
from all the like
I know. All the,
defamation
No,
leads.
you would end it. Yeah.
Pro.
listen,
Okay.
man, I'm sorry about
We gotta wrap it up.
I'm sorry
It's
about
over.
bringing up Hitler.
Man, seeing Jenny Slate get uncomfortable and have to bring this interview to a halt is just fucking amazing. Norm's just cackling and losing his shit, enjoying the havoc he's wreaking. The best part about these shows Norm hosts is that I feel like he doesn't even want to do them, but maybe he's just bored and doesn't feel like reading John Steinbeck, so he just decides he's going to do the event and fuck with everybody involved. God bless Norm doing all of this for our entertainment. Then they have Jeff Ross as a guest who actually teases Norm a bit, and they go back and forth, and it's pretty funny overall.
The Roast Master General Jeff Ross joins us.
Hi,
Yes.
Jeff.
Welcome.
Hi, everybody.
Oh, you got the first
Hello,
applause.
world.
Yeah.
Norm, this is so fun. Thank
Yeah,
you for having
man.
me on your live podcast.
It's always fun to see you without a giant cloud of marijuana smoke between us.
Well, it's outdoors. It drifted away.
Yeah, how you doing, buddy? You got your hair cut a little.
I had a little trim. I was at the doggy groomer for 2 hours today.
Yeah.
Oh, man, you're a hot fucking piece of ass.
Look at that. I do all my shopping at the mall. Have you ever been to Forever 41?
Forever 41.
Norm, you're
Listen,
dressing like you're going to help somebody move.
it's-
You're wearing sweatpants to the biggest show in YouTube history.
This is the biggest show on the internet.
You dress like you're going to paint the set.
He can't help himself.
Who should I roast this week?
What about Cassim?
Yeah, I
It
think
would
you
be
should
an
roast
honor
Cassim.
if you could just do me.
He's an Arab, if that helps.
I only roast celebrities, Cassim, so you're off the hook.
Thank you.
What do you dress like? You're like Harry Potter's accountant.
You just not that up.
Well, I want to thank Jeff Ross for turning the mirror on me today. Back to you guys over there.
Like the inventor of a cure of some disease we haven't thought of yet. Look at you, like Orville Redenbacher's fluffer. I don't know.
No surprise here, when two real comedians banter, it's actually pretty solid. Then in the next segment, we have Cassim and Jenny doing some type of YouTube promo while Norm just stares down the barrel of the camera intensely. It gets to a part where Norm gets a free tablet and Cassim tries to poke fun at him.
Bah.
Norm, do you know that you can watch live stream stuff on your phone?
I
or
don't
tablet?
believe that's true. I know I can watch it on my computer, but I don't believe I can watch it on anything other than my computer.
Today is a day for you then. Guess what?
What?
Google, our
Yeah.
friends at Google here,
Sure.
sent us a free Nexus 7 tablet.
Don't say us.
Yeah, yeah.
Don't say us.
It was just you.
Yeah.
Norm.
Let's not get all fucking plural.
Thanks, Google. What I wanted to show you is how easy it is to watch yourself and other live streams on your tablet device.
On the computer.
On the computer.
Yeah.
Go ahead and hit play there.
Okay.
It's
Oh,
right
I
there
see.
in my.
It's so simple.
Do you see your face?
Oh yeah, it's me with a huge fat fucking face.
Yeah, I didn't want to be the one to say it.
Yeah, I've been having a lot of trouble. My doctor, he said he's not a very nice guy. He said, open your mouth and say oink.
Yeah, you need to get better insurance, Norm.
Insurance? He was calling me a fat pig.
Well, I mean, nobody's going to disagree with him.
Oh, Kasim.
I'm sorry, Norm. I've got an acid tongue.
You do. You're an acid-tongued Arab.
Acid-tongued Arab. God damn it, dude. My favorite part about this is when Norm tells the doctor joke and looks right down the barrel of the camera. Then when Kasim responds, Norm is dumbfounded by it and makes the goofiest face before shitting on Kasim again. Then there's a comedian/magician who comes on and does a little party trick, and throughout the whole thing, Norm is just being a goofball, calling him a sorcerer. All these one-liners Norm drops are excellent, man. Just can't get enough of it. Then my favorite part is when Sarah Silverman comes on, who is one of the organizers for YouTube Comedy Week, and she gets into it a little bit with Norm.
It'll be fun.
Hey,
Norm, thanks for dressing up.
Hey, Sarah, listen, man. Congratulations. That's the 100th time that joke's been done tonight. But I also want to tell you, I have a bet with Daniel Kellison, a rather large figure.
Daniel Kellison, who put this whole thing together,
Yeah.
way over his head.
He says you
did it.
He says you can explain what the fuck Jash is.
Jash is.
Pay up, fucker.
Jash is a comedy collective, a United Artists, if you will. Uniting myself, Reggie Watts, Michael Cera, and Tim and Eric. And what do? We do whatever we dream up. We shoot it, and it goes on there. We can fail, we can do well. It's total freedom.
No offense, but it sounds like some fucking commie gobbledygook.
You got me, Norm.
I mean, I've never heard the word collective.
I know, but
Leon
Daniel puts
Trotsky.
buzzwords in my head, and then I just blindly
out of
say
all
them.
Commie gobbledygook. Good God, man. Norm is a national treasure. Then later on, we have Hannibal Buress on the couch for an interview. Norm gives Hannibal some praise for his suit and says how he looks like a young Eddie Murphy with that type of fashion. I'm sure Hannibal loved hearing that. Then we get to see Norm try to lie down on top of two ladies. Real pretty ladies, might I add. These two ladies are then asked about getting hate online, and Norm sets up a joke that derails the entire interview with them.
Wait, I have a question. So you guys are two very funny females, but when you post videos on the internet, sometimes being a female is a little bit different than if I was to post a video on the internet. What's that like for you two?
Sometimes we've been called certain things many times.
How do you deal with that stuff?
I think I'm numb to it now. We've been called everything so many times. I can't even.
In the beginning,
take
it was like,
anymore.
oh my God, I can't believe this. We should just stop doing this. And then now we just don't read the comments and keep doing it.
Yeah.
I think that's the right
I think
way to
the
do it.
last
Oh,
comment I read
are
was
you
the
guys
guy-
talking about Barfy Man 362?
Exactly.
Is that you?
No, that's that motherfucker. I don't even want to give him attention, but listen, saying those kind of things about me.
Talk to him right now. Talk to Barf.
Listen, Barfy Man 362.
right.
No, you cannot rape my mother with a knife.
Now it's official.
Yeah, that's the kind of comment we didn't want to read anymore.
Yeah.
A lot of sandwich makers. Bitches, go make me a sandwich.
Those ones bother me less than the knife.
Oh yeah, the raping
mother
ones
stuff.
are worse.
Yeah, you don't want to be raped with a knife.
I'll gladly make
I would
a sandwich.
much rather be raped with something else.
Yeah.
God, there's just something so magical about seeing Jenny Slate get uncomfortable here. What a treat. Norm knows exactly what he's doing. Thankfully, these girls were pretty good sports about the whole thing. That's pretty much how this whole thing with Norm on the YouTube Awards happened, and god damn it was funny. I actually heard an interview clip of Kasim G talking about this in retrospect, and it actually inspired me to make this video. It's nice to know that Kasim was appreciative of Norm and getting to be a part of this event, even if he was the butt of the joke quite a few times. All in all, that was the time Norm MacDonald crashed the YouTube Awards show. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to leave a thumbs up and subscribe if you're new to the channel. Be safe out there. Don't get cut by a fucking sorcerer.
She got cut by a fucking sorcerer.
But that's all I got for you guys today. I love you, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care. A good comedian says funny things, but a great comedian says things funny. I don't think there's a single quote about comedy that better describes the late, great Norm MacDonald. When it comes to delivering a joke, there are very few comedians that were ever as gifted as Norm. And the reason for this was that Norm mastered a simple but effective way of conveying a message. Mark Twain called this style of storytelling the humorous story. What is the humorous story? What makes it unique from other types of stories? How did Norm use it on late-night TV appearances? And how does one anyone learn this storytelling ability for themselves? All of these questions will be answered by the end of the video, so if that sounds interesting to you, then let's hop right into it. To begin with, Norm MacDonald had been doing stand-up comedy for many decades in a lot of these popular late-night clips, so by repetition, Norm had already mastered the art of his comedic delivery and his ability to tell a humorous story. Along with that, Norm was an avid reader who greatly appreciated the works of writers like Leo Tolstoy and Mark Twain. Mark Twain actually wrote a short novel called How to Tell a Story and Other Essays about different variations of storytelling. When you read through this novel for yourself, it all starts to make more sense. In paragraph 2, Mark Twain says, quote, "There are several kinds of stories, but only one difficult kind, the humorous. I will talk mainly about that one. The humorous story is American, the comic story is English, the witty story is French. The humorous story depends for its effect upon the manner of the telling, the comic story and the witty story upon the matter." End quote. Follow this in paragraph 3, it reads, quote, "The humorous story may be spun out to great length and may wander around as much as it pleases and arrive nowhere in particular, but the comic and witty stories must be brief and end with a point. The humorous story bubbles gently along, the others burst." End quote. When you read this, it almost feels like Mark Twain wrote this section directly after watching a Norm MacDonald joke on Conan's late night talk show. It emphasizes that the destination of the humorous story is not of any real significance, and that the constant setting and breaking of expectations throughout the joke is what makes it incredibly special and entertaining for the listener. The comic story that you typically hear from your friends or family members is essentially just one big build-up for an often mediocre or unsatisfying ending. Anyone can tell the comic story, but it takes a lot of practice and finesse to tell the humorous story and to tell it well. This type of story resembles anti-humor in the capacity that the ending is sometimes anticlimactic, but I think the biggest distinction is that anti-humor is a joke told with the intention of its unfunniness being entertaining, but the humorous story is told while the storyteller just ensures that the journey is very enjoyable with less of an emphasis on the ending. Mark Twain even says as much in the next paragraph when he writes, quote, "The humorous story is strictly a work of art, high and delicate art, and only an artist can tell it." End quote. This is why I preface this analysis by telling you how Norm had been a veteran of stand-up comedy for decades and decades before we heard the moth joke or heard him call his wife a battle axe. To tell any of these jokes with the flair that Norm told them with takes many hours and many years of hard work. Mark Twain is not exaggerating when he says it is a high and delicate art. Twain then further details the difference between the humorous and comic story when he writes, quote, "The humorous story is told gravely. The teller does his best to conceal the fact that he even dimly suspects that there is anything funny about it, but the teller of the comic story tells you beforehand that it is one of the funniest things he's ever heard, then tells it with eager delight and is the first person to laugh when he gets through it. And sometimes if he has good success, he is so glad that he will repeat the nub of it and glance around from face to face, collecting applause and then repeat it again. It is a pathetic thing to see." End quote. When I first read this paragraph, I immediately thought of the most convoluted joke ever that Norm does on the Conan O'Brien show.
There was a fella went by the name of Jacques de Gautier. He was from Témiscamingue, Quebec. And Jacques de Gautier, he was a fella that really thought. He was, while I was scrambling to get out of high school, Jacques Zagatineau had already...
I think you just changed his last name.
Well, you know, a man grows.
Norm is 30 seconds into a story about Jacques de Gautier, and he's already found a clever and cute way to make a joke about his name. He pretends there's nothing even remotely funny about the line, "a man grows," when he subtly delivers it. This is an incredibly unique subversion, but Norm says it as if he has no idea it's about to make the entire room burst into laughter. And that's part of the beauty that Mark Twain articulates for the humorous story. Quote, "Very often, of course, the rambling and disjointed humorous story finishes with a nub, point, snapper, or whatever you like to call it. Then the listener must be alert, for in many cases the teller will divert attention from that nub by dropping it in a carefully casual and indifferent way, with the pretense that he does not know it is a nub." End quote. Another fascinating thing about Norm's delivery is when he fools you into thinking a story or joke is complete, and you quickly realize after you laugh that you're still in the setup of the joke, and you're just trying to pay attention and see where he's going to take you next. Mark Twain also detailed someone named Artemus Ward who commonly used this trick when he was telling a humorous story, where he would deliver a joke, and when the the audience took a second to catch it and they started laughing, he would look up with this innocent surprise on his face as if he didn't just say something hilarious, which sounds identical to what Norm Macdonald does. Another important part that Mark Twain highlights about the humorous story is the use of the pause. Quote, "The pause is an exceedingly important feature in any kind of story and a frequently recurring feature too. It is a dainty thing and delicate and also uncertain and treacherous, for it must be exactly the right length, no more and no less, or it fails of its purpose and makes trouble. If the pause is too short, the impressive point is past, and if it is too long, the audience has had time to divine that a surprise is intended, and then you can't surprise them, of course." End quote. We all know Norm was a master at his comedic timing, and he uses the pause as much as he can to make a funny story even funnier, as mentioned by Mark Twain in How to Tell a Story and Other Essays. Now, I have no evidence suggesting that Norm Macdonald read this story by Mark Twain and used this as his blueprint for late-night television appearances, but I do know that Norm Macdonald was an avid reader of Mark Twain's literature. I can confidently state that this short novel by Mark Twain describes in great detail the process that Norm Macdonald is well known for on his late-night appearances. In order to tell a humorous story and emulate exactly what Norm did on late-night television, you have to apply a few basic principles. First of all, you have to be absurd and incongruent while setting up the story, but the hard part is you have to do it so subtly that people don't realize that you're doing it on purpose. Quote, "To string incongruities and absurdities together in a wandering and sometimes purposeless way and seem innocently unaware that they are absurdities is the basis of the American art, if my position is correct." End quote.
And we thought, boy, he's going to be the next. We had Jean Marchand, Gérald Tertier, Pierre Trudeau, the three wise men of Quebec, by God. And, I met him, I started to do stand-up and travel from here to there and to here again. One time I was in Niagara Falls, and gosh, I went over to the Sea World there. You know how they have the Sea World? You know, with the different fish. You know.
I didn't know that, but okay, yeah, yes.
This was a perfect execution by Norm in the initial setup. He continues to follow this blueprint with several great jokes, then he applies the second principle, which is using the pause to build suspense.
So I was checking out the beluga whales and stuff, and I look over, and who do you think I see?
I hope it's that guy.
No, it was just an attendant, but he showed me to the place I wanted to see, which is where they feed the little baby dolphins.
This silly joke works because Norm is just teasing us with details the entire time and pretending like he doesn't know exactly what he's doing. Then the third principle is to throw away the ending punchline. After Norm has warmed us up, he delivers the final punchline when Jacques de Gatineau is feeding baby dolphins.
And who do I see there but Jacques de Gatineau? And here he is, he's feeding the baby dolphins. And I go up to him and I go, "Jacques de Gatineau, I feel shame for you. You were our hope. You were to go to Canada, Canada's nation's capital of Ottawa. All of Temiskaming, Quebec, pinned our hopes on you. Now that's a hell of a burden for a man to have a town's hope pinned on them." So he was feeding these baby dolphins, you know. And I said, "I'm ashamed of you, Jacques de Gatineau. You could have done so many great things." He said, "I think I'm serving a youthful porpoise." Now, I believe that...
If there were no incongruities and absurdities throughout the story, this would have been the shittiest comic story ever, but because Norm understands that the journey in the story is more important than the destination, he is able to deliver this corny-ass punchline and receive a huge laugh from it. Norm made the whole story interesting to listen to, so as a result, the ending being anticlimactic doesn't really hurt the joke at all because it's not the focal point of the joke. Now, I know that I laid out these principles like anybody can do this, but the truth is, most people can't. It takes years of practice and hard work to tell a humorous story like this, but at least you know how Norm did it now. When you understand the chasm of difference between a generic comic story and a beautifully delivered humorous story, you come to appreciate Norm's ability to pleasantly waste your time even more so than you did before. Telling a joke like this takes years and years of hard work, and it cannot be learned overnight unless you are simply gifted beyond measure. Let's face it, we're all unfunny compared to Norm Macdonald. He was the fucking greatest. All in all, this is how Norm Macdonald tells a joke. If you enjoy the video, leave me a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel if you're new. That's all I got for you guys today. In the meantime, here's another great video about Norm Macdonald that you can watch right now. Norman Jean MacDonald was born on October 17, 1959 in Quebec, Canada. His parents Fern and Percy MacDonald raised him and his brother Neil on a rural farm that Percy inherited from his father. Norm's family was working class and both his parents had jobs as teachers. His deep love for his family and upbringing made him develop an earnest respect for elderly people and the unique wisdom and perspective they brought to any conversation. Norm was also an incredibly well-read and intelligent student when he was in school. He started high school at Quebec High School but transferred to Gloucester High School upon his family moving to Ottawa, where he would graduate at just 14 years old. Then at 16 years old, he went to Carleton University to study math, but didn't care for it, so he dropped out. Norm always loved comedy, and even shares a story about a joke that he saw David Letterman perform that he told all of his friends when he was a kid. He worked a bunch of different jobs, but then at 26 years old, he tried stand-up comedy for the first time at Yuck Yuck's Comedy Club. Howard Wagman managed the club and told a story about Norm fleeing after his first set because he felt embarrassed at how the performance went. But thankfully for all of us, Howard talked him into continuing to do stand-up and that he had a unique talent for it. Shortly thereafter, Norm became a regular at Yuck Yuck's and became very good very fast. Within just 6 months, Norm was granted the opportunity to perform at Just for Laughs Comedy Festival in Montreal in 1986. For some comedians, it takes 5 to 10 years to get an opportunity like this, but Norm was doing it within his first year of stand-up comedy. Unreal talent. Norm did so well that the Montreal Gazette wrote an article about him, but this article also detailed Norm's first encounter with cancer, which forced him to take an entire year off stand-up comedy. Norm never talked about this in his act, though, because he figured people would think he was lying. Norm continued doing stand-up and eventually got some excellent opportunities to make a name for himself, like appearing on Star Search and making his television debut on Late Night with David Letterman on May 9th, 1990. Letterman really liked Norm. In fact, he would have Norm on many more times after this, and he went on the record to say that they would have had Norm on weekly if they could have. Later in the year, Norm's father Percy passed away, but it didn't slow him down because less than a year after this, Norm would shoot his first comedy special on HBO, One Night Stand. As Norm continued to gain notoriety, he would eventually cross paths with comedian Dennis Miller, and Dennis would hire him as a writer for the one and only season of The Dennis Miller Show in 1992. Following this, in the same year, Roseanne would hire him to write for her sitcom, Roseanne. Then in 1993, Norm received the comedy opportunity of a lifetime and joined Saturday Night Live as a cast member where he would stay until 1997. This job was a lifelong dream for Norm, and he certainly made an impact with his memorable impressions of Burt Reynolds, Larry King, David Letterman, and Senator Bob Dole, as well as being arguably the best host of Weekend Update in SNL history. People loved the indifference Norm had when reading jokes on Weekend Update, especially towards his biggest target, O.J. Simpson. While working on SNL, Norm would get to meet Adam Sandler, Chris Farley, and the rest of the bad boys of SNL. These connections led to Norm landing a movie role in Billy Madison with Adam Sandler in 1995, and a year later he did another movie called The People vs. Larry Flynt with Woody Harrelson in 1996. Then in 1997, Norm made headlines for doing a corporate clean comedy show at Iowa University with Daryl Hammond and Jim Brewer, where he was intentionally filthy and walked 80% of the audience when he was told to be TV clean. Pretty fucked up, but also pretty funny. Also in 1997, we got to see Norm host the White House Correspondents' Dinner, where he had one of the most interesting audiences of all time, and he still crushed. Furthermore, Norm would be fired from Saturday Night Live in 1998, and when asked about it on Letterman and The Howard Stern Show, he stated that it was done by Don Ohlmeyer because Don was good friends with O.J. Simpson, and he really wanted him to stop the O.J. Simpson jokes. This was a cover story, though. In reality, Norm's friend and head writer Jim Downey was being fired, and when the producers asked about the decision, Norm stood in solidarity with Jim and said he would quit if Jim was fired, and that's exactly what happened. But Norm took this secret to the grave. Just a few months after Norm was fired, he would be selected as the host for the 6th annual ESPY Awards, where he would make one of the most infamous O.J. jokes of his career.
He became the first defensive player to win the Heisman Trophy. And congratulations, Charles. That is something that no one can ever take away from you. Unless you kill your wife and a waiter, in which case...
Fucking legendary. Preceding his exit from Saturday Night Live, in 1998, Norm would star in his very own movie directed by Bob Saget titled Dirty Work, which has since become a cult classic amongst Norm MacDonald fans. He would also be a voice actor in Eddie Murphy's Doolittle in 1998. Then in 1999, Norm would be given his very own sitcom titled The Norm Show, where he played Norm for 3 seasons. Also in 1999, NBC would realize their colossal fuck-up in firing Norm, so they invited him back to host Saturday Night Live, to which he proceeded to give a hilarious hilarious monologue trashing the show and calling it horrible in typical Norm Macdonald fashion. Then the next year in 2000, we had this legendary moment of Norm promoting his show on The View, where he called Bill Clinton a murderer on national television. We also got to see Norm host the 27th American Music Awards that year, and we even got to see Norm on the game show Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, where he ended up winning and showing everybody just how smart he really was. Also in 2001, we got to see Norm voice acting as Death in Family Guy, and also star in the movie Screwed with comedy legend Dave Chappelle. Then a year later, in May 2001, The Norm Show would be canceled, making it the worst tragedy to ever happen in the year 2001. Also this year, Norm would voice act in Eddie Murphy's Dolittle 2. Over the next several years, Norm would have a few television projects that would unfortunately perish very quickly, like the TV show A Minute with Stan Hooper that aired on Fox, where Norm was the main character, which would be canceled after only 6 episodes. Then in 2005, Norm was cast in a sketch show titled Back to Norm on Comedy Central, which once again was killed in its infancy because of lackluster ratings and low viewership. However, in the same year, Norm would land an iconic voice acting role as Norm the Genie in the kids' TV show The Fairly Odd Parents. Then just 1 year later in 2006, Norm would release a sketch comedy album titled Ridiculous, which was met with mixed reviews from his base of avid supporters. It seems like Norm's best luck in this decade was anything that was far away from sketch comedy. Norm would continue to do stand-up while also snagging some acting roles, such as 2007 when he played Chubby's son in the TV show My Name is Earl, and also a TV appearance on the show Match Game where he's part of the celebrity panel. In the meantime, Norm also did some commercials in this time frame, like from 2006 to 2008, he voice acted for the Canadian company Bell Mobility, in addition to being the gingerbread man in AT&T commercials from 2007 to 2008. Then in 2008, we saw Norm do the legendary roast of Bob Saget, where he took the roast about as seriously as you would take fitness and diet advice from Lizzo. Following this, in 2009, Norm pitched a reality show about himself to Fox, but the series would be scrapped halfway through the filming process. Norm would also be featured as a regular guest on late-night talk shows, proving to be one of the most consistently funny guests of all time. It's impossible to track all the best ones, but I promise you they're not difficult to find. Moving on, 2011 would prove to be a really good year for Norm, beginning with the release of his first hour-long stand-up comedy special titled Me Doing Stand-Up, which was met with high praise from comedy fans, and then Norm would star in his own talk show called The Sports Show with Norm Macdonald. Then a few more years passed by, and in 2013, Norm started his very own podcast called Norm Macdonald Live with some fucking douchebag named Adam Egget as his co-host. The show featured many different guests and stayed on YouTube for 3 long seasons. Then in 2014, we got this legendary appearance from Norm where he hosted YouTube's big live comedy show alongside Jenny Slate and Kasim G, where he rightfully made a mockery out of the entire event. Then in 2014, we got to see Norm do some voice acting as the Pigeon on Mike Tyson Pigeon Mysteries. Later on, 2015 would prove to be a huge year for Norm, where he did some voice acting in the Canadian TV show Sunnyside, where he played a talking manhole. He was a judge on the NBC show Last Comic Standing, and most notably, he did the last late-night stand-up set on Late Show with David Letterman, where he broke down into tears given the sheer gravity of the moment. We also saw Norm as Colonel Sanders in KFC commercials for a bit. Then a year later in 2016, we saw Norm release his incredibly funny book titled Based on a True Story, Memoir. And on top of that, we saw him host the 2016 Canadian Screen Awards, where he showed a lot more reverence and respect than previous hosting occurrences. Then in 2017, we got to hear Norm voice acting as Yaphet, the talking blob, in Seth MacFarlane's TV show The Orville, and then we saw the release of Norm's second hour-long stand-up comedy special titled Hitler's Dog, Gossip and Trickery. Then in 2018, Norm was embroiled in controversy for publicly criticizing aspects of the Me Too movement, and this led to him having an appearance on The Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon canceled. The most disappointing thing about this is that if this bullshit didn't happen, we probably would have gotten a few more late-night appearances from Norm. Also in 2018, we saw Netflix purchase the rights to Norm Macdonald Live and then rebranded it as Norm Macdonald Has a Show, which a lot of people said was not as good as the original series back when it was on YouTube. Norm would continue doing stand-up for many more years. Then in March of 2020, right before the lockdown started, we got to see a set from Norm at the Hollywood Improv posted on his very own YouTube channel where he talks about the big cough. Little did the people know this would be the last time Norm Macdonald would ever perform stand-up comedy. Then a year later, in 2021, 4 years ago today, Norm Macdonald would die from cancer. His audience in the world of comedy were shocked to know that this was not a new development. Rather, he had been diagnosed with cancer over a decade ago and privately dealt with it until he lost his battle with cancer. Well, I guess it was more of a draw, really. But seriously, Norm Macdonald to a lot of people was a great comedian. If you ask some people, including myself, he was the greatest comedian to ever live. I love Norm Macdonald. He inspired me in many ways, and if you've made it this far, you probably love him too. Every year in September, September on this channel, I post a video to commemorate Norm and his comedy legacy, and I hope you guys appreciated this one. If you did, make sure to leave me a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel if you're new. Leave a comment with your favorite Norm Macdonald moment of all time, and if you want more content about Norm Macdonald to watch right now, click the link on your screen here to watch this video about the time Norm Macdonald was kicked out of Iowa by the governor for being dirty at a corporate clean comedy show. I know you guys are going to love it. Anyway, take care and God bless. Norm Macdonald and Chris Kattan have quite the history together at Saturday Night Live. And I'm not talking about some type of gay sexual escapades. I mean that for a period of time, these two stars clashed heads and did not get along, and it made for an incredibly entertaining story that was circulated by comedy fans. But was it a real feud, or was it merely for our entertainment? In today's video, we will be finding out what happened between Norm and Chris on Saturday Night Live, why they might not have liked each other for a period of time, and whether or not they ever buried the battle axe. So if that sounds interesting to you, then let's hop right into it. To begin with, these two alleged doghouse owners were on Saturday Night Live in the 90s. Norm was a cast member for 5 seasons from 1993 all the way up until 1998, while Chris Kattan was a cast member for 7 seasons from 1996 all the way up until 2003. This brought them in close proximity to one another for the 22nd and 23rd season of Saturday Night Live. Now, I imagine with the stress and pressure that comes along with working on a show as massive and prestigious as Saturday Night Live, that sometimes you might see the worst in people, whether it be through a drug addiction or impulsive behavior. But according to Chris Kattan in the beginning, Norm did treat him respectfully. Then as time went on, Norm and Chris would start to get on each other's nerves a little bit. And Norm, being who he is, would eventually air his thoughts on who he believes Chris lies down in bed with.
Quick Norm story. Great quick Norm story.
Kid, Artie.
Well, Jim will appreciate that. They do a big Rolling Stone article about the Kansas City.
That was a great one, man.
Wait, what is this? They do a big Rolling Stone article about the cast.
I got a good one.
So the cast of Saturday Night Live.
Right, yeah.
And it's everybody kissing each other's ass. So they ask Norm about Chris Kattan. And it's after pages of, I've never seen someone do better character work. Norm's quote is, he seems gay to me. He goes, I've never met a guy who said he wasn't gay. He seems so gay. But I guess he says he's not gay, so whatever.
Hey.
I love that.
Now, obviously, this didn't seem like a huge deal at the time. If you're a subscriber of this channel, you're probably a pretty big Norm Macdonald fan, and him calling people gay to tease them was a pretty common occurrence. If anything, it's probably a sign that he's fond of you as a person. So at first, this doesn't seem like anything more than some banter between two star-crossed lovers, but then when Chris Kattan is asked about it on the Howard Stern show, we get some more details about the interactions between Chris and Norm.
What about Norm Macdonald? You're at war with him as well. You two don't like each other.
Warring with Norm?
Here's what Norm said.
Oh, good.
I got it for you.
Another one.
Chris and Norm Macdonald apparently hate each other. This is according to my notes. When Norm hosted Saturday Night Live, Chris did not appear on the show. I don't find him funny. What can I say? Never made me laugh. What happened between... First of all, I don't believe you're gay, are you? I know someone you dated.
No, I'm not gay.
Yeah, you dated.
And he's certainly had to have laughed at you once or twice.
Right.
Yeah,
You're
exactly.
a funny guy.
Right.
Well, that was the
I mean, your
Rolling
characters,
Stone
some of your
article.
characters are effeminate, so maybe people will think you're
Right.
gay.
Like Mango's, like, you know,
he's gay.
Queer as day.
Right. So
yeah.
So is Norm a homophobe? Is that the problem? He doesn't like gay
definitely
characters?
think he has a problem with
But give me the history of this. I love feuds.
Well, let's see. When I first got on the show, he was so nice. He and Spade,
right,
were just like so nice, and then I don't know what happened. He just started. Like Garth Brooks was, we did like a pitch meeting, and he started saying things in the pitch meeting like, you don't want to do it. Like Garth Brooks was a guest.
Yeah.
Was a guest. I was like, I'm sure you don't want to do another sketch. Like things like that. People would laugh.
Oh, dear.
I was like, why is he saying? Why is it? And then it got kind of old. Like, Jesus, Norm, you're like another.
And it makes you inhibited in a writing meeting if someone's goofing on you every time you open up your mouth, right?
Yeah. I mean, I didn't care because I'm not gay. If I was like, you know, some gay guy going, I don't want anyone to know that I'm just
right. And so the gay jokes kept going and going and going.
Yeah, the gay jokes kept going and going.
And then you finally said, "Hey, I've had it with you, Norm."
Well,
Did you ever confront him?
A little bit, yeah. But it's like a playful thing. He says it's like a Jack Benny, Fred Allen, kind of a feud thing.
But you don't see it that way.
No, I think he's
I don't know.
According to Chris, in the beginning everything was fine between them, but as they worked together more and more, they started to dick around and make fun of each other more. Norm even detailed that he didn't actually hate Chris or even dislike him, but that they had this little faux feud between them, similar to Jack Benny and Fred Allen, who were popular comedians who performatively clashed in 1936 on Fred Allen's radio show titled Town Hall Tonight. The feud did have a lot of funny moments though, like the story Chris Kattan tells about the time they sat next to each other on a plane.
We were on a flight together. We didn't plan on being together on the same flight. We were flying from LA back to New York to do Saturday Night Live, and it was a red eye, and he's behind me, and we're getting along, whatever. He's talking about crapping on women, or I don't know what he was talking about, something like that.
Yeah,
and it was funny because he was so loud,
right?
So everyone else could hear it. I'm like, I just crap on this girl.
Yeah,
and I'm like, laughing,
right?
Because he's a funny guy.
Yeah.
And then I wake up, and because it's a red eye, and one of my shoes is missing. And I was like, where's my shoe? And Norm's like, hey, you lost your shoe, huh? And then he leaves. And I'm like, so disoriented. And I'm the last guy in the flight looking for my shoe. And I just, walk off the plane with one shoe. And all the stewardesses like, you are funny.
Oh, no. So he stole your shoe.
He stole my shoe.
And he's playing goofs on you. He's not respecting you.
Right. And then I took his jacket on a really cold night.
Yes.
And his assistant called me at home going, I got to get Norm's jacket. Please get me Norm's jacket. And she was like freaking out.
Right.
In addition to this goofy story, Will Ferrell actually told the ending to this story on Fly on the Wall with Dana Carvey and David Spade.
He's like, come on, give me back my shoes. I know you took them. I know. Norm's like, I don't know what you're talking about. Kattan has to walk through JFK.
With no shoes?
With no shoes, just in his socks. An entire season goes by. And then Kattan and Norm are jousting back and forth about something.
They used to joust a little bit.
And then Norm finally goes, oh yeah, and one other thing, I did take your shoes.
So this story is all well and good, but eventually on the Howard Stern show, Chris starts talking about how Norm wanted to be on the cover of the Rolling Stone magazine, but Artie Lang called in to mention how this narrative is untrue. Now, if Norm and Chris were on good terms, why would he feel the need to lie about this? The conversation that led to Artie calling in was when the previous caller mentioned how Jim Breuer had an issue with Chris while they worked on Saturday Night Live over accusations of a stolen idea.
Chris,
thank you.
Is it not true that Jim Breuer, your former cast member, had a problem with you as well?
I think at one point he thought I stole an idea from him.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So, man, there's so much infighting. You got to admit.
But they're really, that's it though.
Really?
That's not much for like 6 years.
With a lot of the cast members, and I think with Chris, do you remember that Rolling Stone cover came out and they only put certain members of SNL on the cover?
Yeah, that was a big deal.
Didn't that cause a lot of strife inside?
Yeah. I mean, Norm wanted to be. There's a big stink because he wanted to be on the cover
by himself.
Yeah.
Really?
No, I don't know if he wanted. No, he wanted to be
in that picture.
I don't know. He showed up later, and then he wanted to be. He wanted to stand in the middle of us.
And you said no.
Well, it was just like weird.
Yeah,
like,
right.
Why are you
like, who are you?
Like here? It's like my variety show.
Yeah, hey, Artie.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, no, I like Chris. I think he's funny. But what he said before about that Rolling Stone cover is wrong.
All right, go. Artie's going to defend Norm, I guess.
Norm represents.
You might be wrong.
All right, go ahead.
No, it's just that Chris made it sound like Norm showed up begging to get on the cover of Rolling Stone.
Oh no, he wasn't begging. He was just like assuming he was on the cover with us. And
well, he was though.
I know he was.
But he wanted to stand in the middle as well.
No. They were begging Norm to do it, and he thought it seemed weird.
He didn't want to do it.
Right. He thought it seemed weird to stand in the middle of all you guys.
Oh, that's true.
They definitely wanted Norm to be on the cover because at the time, I mean, he was the funniest guy on the show. Howard, you've said that a million times.
Right. I think Norm is hysterical.
He is. I already said that.
Yeah, and so does Chris.
As much as I love Chris Kattan and Night at the Roxbury, it seems like Artie did catch him stretching the truth here. So this was the inception of the little feud between Norm and Chris Kattan, but then the next time we heard about their feud was when Jim Breuer told the infamous story about the Twilight Zone sketch. He tells the story in this clip of him doing stand-up, but I prefer him telling the story on the Howard Stern show.
Pamela Anderson is on it. Every time a hot chick would come on, Kattan would go over the top to like, oh my God, he'd write a sketch, we're going to make out. And Norm is the guy who's got to go, imagine if you will. And Norm doesn't read sketches, and he's a pro. Right. So he would rehearse it and go, hey, imagine if you will, second time, and Catan would go, my God, you don't even sound like him. Why would you do that? Now we go to air, and Norm still hasn't said nothing. Every time Catan would say something to him, I'd look at Norm like, hey, man, you're my hero. What's up? Because if you're not going to say something, I will. Right. And sure enough, he'd give me like a wink. I swear to you, he'd give me a wink. I'm like, I don't know what's going on. Live air comes on, and I'm like, 20 seconds to the Twilight Zone sketch. He starts up again. Where Mike, the whole audience is listening. He's like, oh, God, Catan. Norm, you've been a salad. Oh, God, Pamela, you're so hot. Norm, you're gonna... Pamela, I can't wait if you ever get rid of... 10 seconds. Norm turns to Catan. Right for his head, he goes, hey, Pamela, did Chris tell you he's gay yet? And he's got all this rage because he likes being gay. Everyone, why don't you just say you're gay and you wouldn't have all this anger and be a pester? 5 seconds! And you wouldn't have all this rage and try to interrupt everyone's sketch because you suck this week. And we're on! Imagine if you will. I'm like, there's my hero. There's my hero.
See, he knew to save it for the live air.
Saved it.
Now, this made it seem like there may have been some type of strife between Norm and Chris, and maybe there was at the time. However, it seems like eventually they both let it go and moved on with their lives, because in 2011, they both were set on a project called Hollywood and Wine, and this video circulated of the two guys just jawing and flapping their gums, and everything seems cool between these two fellas.
You be the girl.
Jodie Foster?
Yeah, just say something.
Who recently came out, right?
Yeah, but don't put that.
I'm not plugging that.
Okay, so just say it like you're. I'm
I'm
Hannibal the cannibal.
I'm Jodie Foster. I can't do Jodie.
No, just say any line.
Okay, Hannibal, you're terrible. What have you done to these innocent people?
Clarice, I don't know what you dream about, but I ate a guy. That wasn't good at all. I thought I've never done it. Here's the problem: I've never done an impression of him.
Do one. Here's Jessica Biel from Flashdance.
Okay. So okay, Jessica. Yeah. Man, aren't you getting ready for your dance?
Yeah, I gotta go. I got a big thing tonight. It's like
Jennifer.
That much. My Jessica Biel and his Anthony Hopkins.
It was pretty close. They were pretty close.
So everything seems lighthearted and fun in this clip, which makes me think that there was never any type of feud between the two to begin with. It really supports that the feud between Chris and Norm was all for show, and that they probably thought highly of each other the whole time. Then later on in 2015, we got to see Norm do an interview with Huffington Post, where he was asked about Chris Catan, and he makes a few jokes about Chris that seem to be completely absent of malevolence.
Well, Chris is a great guy, but he used to bring around women all the time to the show, you know. Big, tall women, you know. Big bruisers, you know. And he'd say, look, I'm heterosexual. I mean, he wouldn't say that out loud, but that's what that would be the caption on the picture in the New Yorker. Boy, those are funny.
So it was something related to his sexuality.
Maybe. But listen, if I call a person gay, that ain't no insult.
It's a good thing nowadays.
Yeah, if you say it's an insult, you're the homophobe, not me.
Correct. Supreme Court says so.
That's absolutely.
All right, this is so fucking funny. I hate to be a D1 Glazer here, but Norm really was the funniest guy to ever live. I don't care what anybody says. Then 6 years later, Norm would die from cancer, and Chris Catan would do an interview where he was asked about Norm and the relationship they had. He shared a lot of stories and insight as to why he had such a deep admiration for Norm as a comedian and as a cast member on Saturday Night Live. He even confirmed the idea that their feud was all for show, and Norm even said behind the scenes that there was no bad blood and that they teased each other for the entertainment of the audience and also fellow cast members, as we heard from Jim Breuer's story. He also detailed a story about making Norm laugh while he was doing Weekend Update, and also how Norm talked to Chris's mother for 10 minutes and they had a really wholesome conversation. With all of these words of high praise, it makes it abundantly clear that there was never any beef between these two fellas and that their iconic Saturday Night Live feud was all for show and entertainment. That being said though, it is really fun to look back at all the funny moments and stories stories between them and quote them to friends and in comment sections. If you guys want to leave some jokes about Chris Kattan and Norm in the comments down below, please do it, and also hype this video so more people can find it and get a good laugh for themselves. All in all, this was the truth about the iconic feud between Norm MacDonald and Chris Kattan on Saturday Night Live. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to leave me a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel if you're new, and if you're looking for more content right now, click the link on the screen to watch this video about Norm MacDonald where I tell you the entire history of his career in only 10 minutes. This video is great if you want to learn more about our favorite chunk of coal and your time is extremely limited. Other than that, I hope you all have a great rest of your day. God bless. Norm MacDonald is a comedy icon. He had a reputation on Saturday Night Live for being one of the ballsiest Weekend Update hosts to ever sit behind the desk. Tina Fey once said that Norm was the last dangerous cast member on Saturday Night Live, and he's also been described as the first and last bad boy of SNL. Eventually, Norm was fired from the show, though, and why was he fired?
The show blows.
No, Norm was actually fired for his unwavering integrity and loyalty to his friend Jim Downey. In this video, we're going to talk about the real reason Norm MacDonald was fired from SNL and some of the common misconceptions about why Norm was fired, along with why Norm took his secret to the grave. So if all that sounds interesting to you, then let's hop right into it. To begin with, a common misconception about Norm MacDonald's firing from SNL is that it was done by NBC executive Don Ohlmeyer because of all the jokes he made at the expense of acquitted murderer and common breakfast beverage O.J. Simpson. Don did raise some issues to Norm and Jim Downey about this, but it's not the real reason that Norm himself was fired from the show. Part of the reason so many people have believed this for so long is that Norm went on the Howard Stern Show and Late Night with David Letterman and built this narrative that he made an enemy in Don Ohlmeyer after he was told to stop making O.J. Simpson jokes, yet Norm persisted because of his authentic internal comedic compass.
You had heard rumors that there were going to be changes. It doesn't look good.
And so then the guys go, hey, man, you got to call this dude Don Ohlmeyer, who's the president of the network.
And they're telling you you've got to call Don Ohlmeyer.
Right.
So when you called Don Ohlmeyer, what did he say?
He said he didn't want me to do update. He doesn't think I was funny.
He said that to your face?
Yeah.
I don't think you're funny.
On the phone he did this?
He said to me that update is like dragging down the show. He said, I want you to be better. And I go, well, I can't, because if I'm not funny, an unfunny guy can't be funny.
Lorne Michaels fire you?
No, he did. He didn't fire me.
Right.
He likes me and stuff.
Well, it's his show, isn't it?
I thought it was his show, yeah. They said that this guy, Don Ohlmeyer, who turns out to be the president.
Yeah, now I know Don Ohlmeyer, and
Yeah.
just between you and me, he's an idiot.
Oh. So he goes, oh yeah, I'm firing you there from the show. And then I said, oh, that's not good. I said, why is that now? And he goes, oh, you're not funny.
Yeah.
And then I said, oh, Lord, that's even worse news, You have to be philosophical about these things. I mean, at first, like when I found out, I was upset, but then, I really started to think about it, and plus I drank a lot of whiskey. But then the next day I sobered up and I remembered, that I still had some whiskey left.
Now, these interviews are legendary and possess endless rewatchability, but Norm knew what he was doing here and was concealing the true reason he was fired to protect his friend Jim. To understand how Norm was protecting Jim Downey, we need to first understand who Jim was and what he meant to Norm MacDonald. If you're a veteran fan of comedy, Jim probably needs no introduction, but in case you need your memory refreshed, Jim Downey is a comedy writer. Not just any ordinary writer. Jim holds the record for the longest tenured head writer in Saturday Night Live history, with 10 seasons under his belt, and also the record for longest tenured writer in the show's history, with 30 total seasons under his belt. He also wrote for Late Night with David Letterman as head writer in a crucial and formative stage of the show. Jim was like the Babe Ruth of comedy writing, not because he was good at it before black people were allowed to do it, but because he was just a powerhouse of comedy writing. Dennis Miller even called him the second most important man in the history of Saturday Night Live behind Lorne Michaels, which is one hell of a compliment. The point is, if you have any recollection of moments on Saturday Night Live that were good, there's a strong chance that Jim Downey played a huge hand in the development of it. He was also the school principal from the movie Billy Madison, who said this classic line.
What you just said
is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard.
Even some of the best jokes on Weekend Update were written by Jim Downey, which brings us right back to Norm Macdonald. Norm and Jim reportedly spent a lot of time together, away from the cast and crew, which is where a lot of the writing took place. Norm and Jim got along really well, which caused their working relationship to grow stronger. Jim even said for a while they stopped doing OJ jokes to make people think they were fully done with them, but then brought them back later on, which is such a funny move.
I'm sure we did an OJ joke, at least one OJ joke every
show, yeah.
From 94, 95, and 96. And then finally, the fall of 97. So we opened that season, the fall 97, right? Spring 98. We didn't do any OJ jokes. We didn't do any OJ jokes for the first 8 shows.
Wow.
And then the Christmas, it was a long stretch of like, it was like the bombardment has stopped, and then suddenly, I think they stopped. They have stopped. You know, it's peace in the valley. And then on the 8th show, we did 2 OJ jokes.
Hilarious, man. However, when Norm and Jim were told to stop making jokes about O.J. Simpson directly by Don Ohlmeyer, the two would disobey this order, which led to Jim being in hot water with the show producers. Then when Norm was asked by the producers how he felt about their decision to fire Jim, he did not hold back and gave his honest opinions about it. Jim tells the story of exactly how this happened on Conan O'Brien Needs a Friend.
People who are fans of Norm deserve to know this about him. The network went to Norm and said, we want to get rid of Jim Downey, and we just want you to know you're cool with that, right? He said, no. If you can't fire him, if you fire him, I quit. And they go, that's crazy. I mean, you know, he's not helping you, you know. And he said, well, no, I'm not doing it without him. And he never told me that. And I didn't hear that for years. I heard it from some network executives. And and part of everything else, if that had been me, that would have been, you bet Norm would have heard. You know,
you would have talked about it.
Yeah, of course. I mean, come on.
So Norm was not fired for any of the jokes he made. He was fired from SNL because he refused to do the show without his friend Jim Downey. Some people may call that bold, loyal, or even stupid, but you can't deny that Norm's decision came from a position of integrity. We know that also because Jim mentioned how he didn't even know about this until after Norm's death in 2021 because another producer from Saturday Night Live told him about it, which means that Norm took this secret to the grave and never told anybody about it. In my opinion, the likely reason Norm kept quiet about this was because he didn't want a big brother Jim Downey and make it seem like he lost his job because of him, and also because he didn't want to morally grandstand to comedy fans about what happened to him, because to Norm, being funny always came before being morally righteous. So Norm, instead of airing this dirty laundry, decided to tell this funny story about Don Ohlmeyer firing him for not being funny on Letterman and Howard Stern. To clarify, I do think Norm and Jim were confronted by Don Ohlmeyer and that this story happened, but Norm just left out the part that he was fired because of his refusal to do the show without Jim to make the story funnier. Then, of course, a year and a half later, Norm would be brought back to host Saturday Night Live after finding success with his sitcom, The Norm Show, and would give likely the most infamous monologue in Saturday Night Live history.
A year and a half ago, right, I had a sort of a disagreement with the management at the NBC. I wanted to keep my job, right? And they felt the exact opposite. So you see, they fired me because they said that I wasn't funny, you know? But now, this is the weird part, right? It's only a year and a half later, and now they asked me to host the show. So I wondered, I go, hey, wait a second here. Hey! I go, how did I go in a year and a half from being not funny enough to be even allowed in the building to being so funny that I'm now hosting the show? How did I suddenly get so damn funny? It was inexplicable to me, because a year and a half, let's face it, is not enough time for a dude to learn how to be funny. Then it occurred to me, I haven't gotten funnier. The show has gotten really bad. So yeah, I'm funny compared to, you know, well, you'll see later. But okay, so let's recap. The bad news is I'm still not funny. The good news is the show blows. All right, folks, we got a bad show for you tonight. Dr. Dre.
This was so fucking funny, man. This was just one amazing moment in Norm's long comedy career, and part of the reason we all love and respect him endlessly. People also thought that Lorne Michaels had a strife with Norm because of the whole Don Ohlmeyer situation, but this could not be further from the truth. Think about it like this. Norm got fired from the show and then came back to trash the show as the host, and after all of that, Lorne would still bring back Norm to appear on Saturday Night Live. Canadians always stick together. But this was the full story of why Norm MacDonald was fired from Saturday Night Live, how Jim Downey's situation impacted Norm, and also why Lorne Michaels never had any hard feelings towards Norm to begin with, even after he was canned from the show. If you enjoyed this video or learned something new, make sure to leave me a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel if you're new here. Also, hype the video to help more people see it. If you want to see more content from me, click the link on your screen to watch my last video on Dennis Leary and his infamous stand-up comedy plagiarism scandal with Louis C.K. and Bill Hicks. Click the link to watch that next. Other than that, I hope you have a great rest of your day, and God bless.
And there's Charles Woodson. How about that? What a season he had. Great, man. He became the first defensive player to win the Heisman Trophy. And congratulations, Charles. That is something that no one can ever take away from you. Unless you kill your wife and a waiter, in which case, all bets are off. This is a word of advice.
You've admitted that you're lazy. I think you've read 6 books in your life.
I've read 6.
6. What kind of a woman would be attracted to you, do you think?
Well, I have a lot of money.
Donald, God bless you. Watching your set was like watching Henry Fonda pick blueberries.
Now, wait a minute.
What's that? Oh, he wants to say something.
Why, I don't think there's a person in here that would not love to watch Henry Fonda pick blueberries.
What a disaster.
Jenny, all the stars are here.
It's true.
Beardy Man, Claude Racine, Dax Flame, Betty Fine,
You got it.
and Raffi Fine. All the stars
You really keep up with all that
are
stuff.
here tonight. Oh, yes. Harley Morenstein is here.
All right. And we also have comedian Todd Glass. He'll be hanging out backstage with some of tonight's guests. And on the red carpet, we've got comedian Kulap Vailesak and host...
I feel like Todd will be struggling to know these people.
I'm sorry, I'm going to continue with the what the computer says, Norm, although I'd love to talk to you more than this computer.
We're on
but
the
I have to
computer.
do what the computer says, even though I do love you, Norm. I think you're one of the best. We're also going to be talking to the host
I'm no Harley Morenstein.
You're not, Norm, but you gotta just let me read this fucking thing.
Alec Baldwin, he must have.
Oh, yeah, every season, pretty much.
He's amazing. I don't know what he's doing now.
He was unreal.
Weird tweets. But he used to come when he was a lot younger, I guess, because it was when I started, which was 20 years ago. And he was married to Kim Basinger. And he'd complain about her, like, she's the most beautiful woman. Fucking wife. She bought a town. He was mad because she bought a town. Which
A town? She bought a whole town?
Yeah,
Oh my God.
So their credit score went down a little. So
you bought a town.
And then he comes in. Baldwin looks perfect, he just had dinner with Lauren, and he goes, he's trying to be like us, one of the guys. And he goes, that secretary, no, not that, he didn't say secretary. He goes, that assistant girl out there, man, I'd saw my left leg off to fuck her.
Jesus Christ.
And I said, I think all you have to do is ask her. Why?
Yeah, you're Alec Baldwin. I think you're all right.
Now, do you think Cosby's legacy will be hurt?
Yeah.
You do, huh? I mean, there was a comedian, Patton Oswalt, he told me, I think the worst part of the Cosby thing was the hypocrisy. And I disagreed.
You disagree with that?
Yeah. I thought it was the raping. That's my feeling. Most rapists are hypocrites. You don't meet many go, I like raping and I
I know it's not politically correct, but by God, people go, well, he's not being a hypocrite, and that's the worst part.
Do you know about this girl? She's mad at you. Greg was interviewing some girl and she was going off.
I know who it is.
What's the girl's name?
You know, me and Norm have worked with her before. That's why he's going to laugh when I say the name. Laura Keitlinger. Hates your guts.
Did you know she hates you?
No.
Oh, my God. Do you want to hear the clip?
By the way, wait, can I interrupt your old friend, Norm MacDonald? Did you guys write together on,
He's not a friend of mine.
Roseanne, right? Well, I was just using it loosely.
Now, you had a reaction just now to Norm MacDonald.
Mm-hmm.
Not a friend, not a fan.
You worked with him, though.
Mm-hmm.
At Saturday Night Live.
Roseanne.
No, I missed him at Roseanne. Well, I came in, and he was supposed to be the my guide through SNL, and it turned out that he is a shit stirrer.
He was busy pissing in a bucket in front of people.
Well, no, he loves to pit people against each other. You know, it's funny that you said that because he's probably one of the few people I really don't like.
Wow, I've never heard that about. Everyone loves Norm MacDonald.
I barely remember Laura from the show, except for her hit characters, obviously.
I don't even know who she is.
But
She's very talented.
she makes Morweena Banks look like Gilda Radner. But no, she came in directly after me, so I wouldn't be her
mentor.
Yeah, I'm not going to guide any lady through comedy. That would take me, first of all, I'd have to figure out how a lady could do comedy. And then I'd have to...
You strike me, Norm, from what I'm getting from this conversation. You are a man's man. Do you actually believe that women can't be funny? I'm being serious. Are you kind of more in the school that guys are funny comics, just somehow women can't make that transition?
Well, I don't know about you, but when I was in fucking school and shit like that, I'd be in high school, and you could hear peals of laughter, and you'd run over there, and there'd be a big group of people laughing and laughing. Who'd you see in the middle? A broad.
Sure.
Did you see the Kramer thing?
Oh, I did see that. We could look at that right now if we wanted to, but we don't have to look at that.
Laugh.
Yeah. Does that make you laugh when you see that?
You've makes me laugh.
You've done stand-up.
I know Michael Richards.
You do? Okay.
And he's no racist. He's not a racist. And when you say something like that crazy, it can only be a joke. You know what I mean? He was out of his head element. He didn't know what to do.
Yeah.
But there's no way that a guy who's racist screams it at the top of his lungs. You know what I mean?
Well, certainly, I don't think he was anticipating the fact that a cell phone could have been putting this onto CNN as he was saying it. I think he was
right.
thinking,
He wouldn't do it on the Craig Ferguson show.
Right. Maybe on here, though. We could maybe to get him on here to recreate that rant. I don't know. Up here in front of the brick wall.
Well, let's get to O.J. O.J. Simpson's lawyers say they don't want the families of Nicole Brown and Ronald Goldman in the courtroom during the trial. They're afraid the presence of the family members will just remind O.J. of how much more killing he still has to do. Well, O.J. Simpson's lawyers stopped feuding this week, finally. The Dream Team, F. Lee Bailey and Robert Shapiro, were able to put aside their differences and express their admiration for each other after O.J. threatened to cut their heads off.
They always want the new people. Hey, guess what? There's a young girl that's middling attractive that swears a lot. Let's get her. What? Is that the new fucking thing?
Yeah.
Sarah Silverman, hysterical.
Right.
Who's funnier than her?
Nobody.
No, except dudes. But,
Nobody.
I'm just thinking, because they have that Viagra thing out.
Yeah.
And the other day, Bob Dole came right out and said
he was one of the first.
Yeah. And, you don't want to hear about Bob Dole's cock, I mean, President Clinton's cock, Bob Dole's cock, what the hell? But mostly, an old man like that, you don't want him to have a super hard cock. You know what I mean?
Why?
Why? Because an old man, you want him to be got a pipe going, a newspaper, the dog at his feet there.
Well, that in some corners is considered pipe.
Oh. But now they're going to have to create some goddamn pill that makes women aroused at the sight of a fucking 70-year-old dude with a super hard cock. You know what I'm saying? It's crazy. This Viagra. It's insane. And you know what it's for? Impotent people. All right,
Yeah.
it's for impotent guys. So get this. I read this. The pill can make your cock hard for 4 hours.
Right.
So now, who has the 4-hour hard cock? The impotent guy. The rest of us are fucked. Me and you got our regular cocks. Meanwhile, fucking Spade is,
Defer to Spade.
Oh, man. I didn't see it.
I didn't see it coming.
I know you didn't. He brought it all around and then a vicious rib kick into his best friend's gut.
Once there's too much cock talk, I try to just zone out for a minute till it goes back the other way.
If there's too much cock talk, this guy has fevered nightmares all night. Dreams, I mean, like sweaty, fevered dreams from the cock talk that's been all over his head.
Why bury me twice? He's killing me.
No, he's a good man.
That erased it. All right.
No, he's a good man.
Who cares?
After all that, that's the whiteout he puts on.
Yeah, I know, it's awful.
After he talks about you doing chin-ups on cock for 18 minutes. No, he's a good guy.
If you're gay, he's a completely straight guy. He gets a lot of ladies. You know that about him with the ladies.
Don't say ladies.
Women, girls.
Okay, thank you. Ladies, what are we, fucking on an FM station here?
He's Don Cornelius.
But these gay guys, man, I was reading, you know about
These gay guys.
I haven't even said hi yet.
In his book, O.J. Simpson says that he would have taken a bullet or stood in front of a train for Nicole. Man, I'm going to tell you, that is some bad luck when the one guy who would have died for you kills you. That's probably... You don't get worse luck than that. The next time I watch a WNBA game will be the first time I watch a WNBA game. Hey, WNBA, I got an idea that'll sell some tickets. Shirts and skins. But we got a lot of power here, a lot of juice. Mr. Rule Arledge is here, of course, the chairman of ABC News, and a lot of crazy stories coming out of that division, stories about this person sleeping with that person and all that, scandal after scandal. If you heard the latest, I heard this just the other day. There's a rumor that last week, a certain, I don't want to say who it is, a certain gentleman in ABC News, he went to a party and he got really drunk and he ended up having sex with his own wife. I don't know how these rumors get started, but it's probably just a vicious rumor, really, But as Mr. Arledge knows, of course, TV has become a very tough game. You got to stay competitive, As we all know, ABC's Good Morning America is in a little turmoil, a little trouble, a little rating trouble. And they're considering a lot of ways now, to boost the ratings. And I don't know, I think they're getting a little desperate. I heard that next week Charles Gibson will announce he's a lesbian. I mean, is that going to help anything? Nobody wants to hear that. Martha Stewart is here, and she wanted me to tell you, don't let the busboys clear your table off tonight, because a little later Martha will come up here, and she's going to show us how to take those old discarded fish bones and make a beautiful birdhouse. So... That's nice.
How do you figure out how much to share about what goes on behind the scenes at SNL? Because I know that you were talking about Eddie not doing Bill Cosby on Howard Stern's show, and Seth Meyers wasn't crazy about that. He came out about the Ellen and said, I wouldn't have told that story.
Seth Meyers said that?
Yeah, he said, do we have the quote here? Just bring up the quote. He said, I wouldn't have told it. I feel the same way. I think when you're at SNL, you're seeing so many different things behind the scenes. There are often things to give away that are yours to give away. Norm played it in a way that is very Norm MacDonald. And he went on to praise you, but I don't know what that means. I mean, how do you choose what to reveal and what not to reveal, what to share and what not to share about an institution as powerful as this?
I always think, what would Seth Meyers do? Ridiculous.
Do you have like a necklace or something with a WWSMD on it? And whenever you're in a pickle, just hold that. And what would Seth do?
Yeah, because, if you really want to be really funny, then that's what you want to do. You want to think, what would make Seth Meyers laugh? That's how I live my life.
What do you think of his show?
Of what show?
The Seth Meyers show.
It's not something I would do. I was a little late here tonight. I took the cab to the theater, folks. And I don't know if you've ever been in these New York City cabs, but I got one of those cabbies, couldn't speak English, you know. Saw his name there on the dash. I couldn't even pronounce it. I think it was something like Hideki Arabu. I'm like, Arabu's been having some trouble, man. They fired his translator. Steinbrenner fired his translator. And people see that as cruel, you know, but I don't know, you know. I mean, if you're not doing well in Yankee Stadium, you know, do you really need a translator? Do you want that, you know? You know? Hey, what'd they say? They say you suck. You should go back to Japan, you dirty foreigner. Okay, I got it. I'm trying to pitch over here.
You like George Bush, don't you?
I love George Bush, man. He's a good man, decent. You know, none of this. He's, you know, he's not a liar, a crook, murderer, or anything like that. So it'd be good to get the. See, I think we should get the homicide out of the White House and get like a fresh start, because we don't want any more murderers.
I think we should just go on to the next question.
Who are the murderers?
Yeah.
Oh, Clinton, he murdered a guy.
Yeah, you know, we're not allowed to, you're not allowed to put out no accusations without
That's a little too far.
That's the way it does work.
Let's just go on to the next question.
Yeah.
This is not my week. What can I tell you?
Oh, it's not mine either, and I'm being very nice, okay? Be a good boy. Now, Norm.
Do you never hear that?
No. Listen,
Norm,
we don't need
I don't want to get into this, and I don't want to hear it, and this is not the place to make those accusations, and you're supposed to be funny. Let's get on to the next question.
So get with it. There you go.
This is a live show.
Why? Norm, but you have been properly chastised by Barbara, so I'm now going to ask the next question.
I thought it was a matter of record.
Shut up.
Shut up. Look,
Okay.
let me do this, okay?
I'll tell you what's a matter of record. You will not be invited back if you don't shut up. All right, now.
So, Jenny, what month was your issue?
Quoting Churchill.
May of 08. Who was on the cover? Do you remember?
It was a Russian girl. And my nickname's Genocide, so I think that was kind of funny.
What?
What? What do you mean?
Is Genocide giving her comedy fucking advice?
Why is that? It's funny because there was a genocide.
In Russia? Only about 70 years ago.
Against the Russian people.
Who still lives?
But me. That's not
You first.
Huh?
Czechoslovakia. No, it was Holocaust. It wasn't a complete genocide.
What do you mean?
No, it was.
Well, Stalin was a mass murderer.
Only Jewish people seem to get really offended by my nickname.
There are fives in a cave.
Dave's getting bored.
Right.
Well,
because they're the only ones that live.
Well, the only
through
true genocide was the. Well, I don't want to say
another one this way, Sam. That was a true genocide.
Wow. What?
The American Indians was a true genocide.
No, that was for land.
No, that was justified.
That was for land. We were taking their property.
No,
it doesn't matter. What doesn't matter what the motive is.
The genocide.
Yeah, the motive is to just hatred of a race to exterminate them without a political or economic agenda.
Well, we did with the Indians.
Well, it's not justifiable.
No, who's saying it's justified?
I said it's well. That's
Just we got to bury them.
I'm just wondering how it's
just one counterpoint.
You've never heard the legal term justifiable genocide? Hitler was out of his mind at the time. Clearly insane.
I'm trying to take another opinion so we can have some friction here. It's a television show, honey. I can't agree with everything you say.
This guy fancies himself a modern-day Bill Maher.
Thank you for the dumb opinion.
And I got a question for Donald.
Yeah, absolutely. Go ahead.
Where do you get your material, your comic material? Is it through your imagination or real life situations that's happened?
That's an excellent question.
It is. It's a good one. It's almost like what inspired you to ask that question, sir?
Well, you know, I kind of think of myself as being a comic as well. If you need some material, I can give you some right now.
Okay.
Oh, go ahead, man.
Yeah, let's hear a joke here.
Well, it's not necessarily a joke, but have you noticed that it's always illegal to spit on the sidewalk? But as long as you're with your woman, it's okay to cock a loogie in her crotch. I'm thinking the cheap bastards should go buy some lubricant or something.
Yeah. It's like
Am I wrong here?
punk rock of comedy.
Well, that's awesome, man.
That's great.
That's good.
That's
Thanks.
a new way to approach comedy. It's a.
You want to play a little something on the piano real quick?
Well, Tom, right now it's not powered up because I got an outlet situation.
Oh, okay.
Going.
All right.
I got some pre-recorded material.
Okay. That's all right. Power it up next time.
He could have a
Thanks.
whole act like that.
Wow.
He could. I swear to God, he could craft an entire act like that. You know, why is it okay to throw your gum? Like, you know, why is it bad if you throw your gum on the street, but it's all right if you rape a lady? You know, it's like the premise is crazy. It's not all right to spit in a lady's vagina.
We're joined by the talented trio called the Lonely Island.
Yeah,
who
you know
will be
what I
on the
call
big.
them?
What do you call them?
I call them Sandberg and the other couple of fellows.
The Mind Squad
The
is how
other couple.
Rolling Stone put it.
The other two, Akiva and Yorma. Thank you guys for joining us. Andy.
Thanks for knowing our names.
Yeah,
Thanks.
no, I read the card. You guys ever been to a thing like this? No. What do you think?
Nothing like this.
It feels so pro and real. Am I on TV? Am I on the internet?
We don't know.
Oh, you're on the computer.
You're on a velvet couch. You're on a maroon velvet couch in the beating hot sun.
Hey, can I ask a serious
beautiful.
question? I mean, fuck all these jokes. like when you name yourselves, right?
Yeah.
Do you ever have fucking moments of regret later because it's permanent, almost like a tattoo?
Absolutely. Yeah. The Lonely Island, I was outvoted.
Oh, you were?
Yeah.
What were the other runner-up names?
Our first album was called Incredibad, and I wanted that to be the name of the band. But
We would have had regrets about that too, though.
Probably.
Let's be honest.
There's no winning when you're a comedy troupe.
Does that happen a lot?
It all
Yeah,
sucks.
you're a troop.
Who comes up with the ideas, or do you guys fight a lot over ideas, or how does that work?
It's a democratic process.
Yeah.
2 out of 3 always
Two out
wins.
of 3 wins. Yeah.
Who's always getting left out?
Someone's always mad. It's whoever's not in town.
Got it.
How do you guys feel in your bodies? Do you feel healthy and strong?
Absolutely not.
I could be eating better.
Yeah.
Yeah, digestion could be going better.
Yeah. I feel like that about
Hey,
myself.
enough of these fucking jokes. Can I ask one more serious question?
Hit me with a real one, Norm.
A real one.
Sandberg, when you went to SNL,
Yeah.
you went different than anybody else because you were already a fucking big hit, right?
I don't think so. Is that true?
We were definitely
No.
not a big hit. No.
Oh, Saturday Night Live made you guys a big hit?
Yeah, I mean, we had a small internet following.
Oh, so the computer doesn't really work to make you a big hit?
I mean, that was like 17 years ago, right? How long ago was that? It was a while ago. It's changed now.
Yeah. Yeah. So when you started Incredibad
/ The Lonely Island.
Yeah, the Lonely Island. What's the significance of that name, though? That's what really I wanted to ask. The Lonely Island. You think of all islands as kind of lonely.
Do you really want to hear the story?
Yes, please.
I do
We could do a
too.
real short version, which is just basically, it was what we called the apartment we lived on Olympic with all the traffic. It was a sarcastic name from a sarcastic Tennessee Williams style sketch we did about the apartment.
Akiva wrote a one-act play.
God damn, I wish I had a time machine.
Oh,
To
it
see
was
that
so great.
action.
Yeah, no, to take back my question.
Thought you were going to say to murder Hitler.
I would not. You know, people always fucking want to murder Hitler with their time machine, right? But then I feel if I got back there, I'd be afraid of falling under the spell of his fucking beautiful eyes.
It's true.
And oratory, and then,
he locked in the gaze.
yeah, and then I join the fucking party,
That's
knowing
his
me.
thing. He gives you his full attention. You're like, whoa,
All
wait
right.
a minute. Maybe there's
Norm,
something to
I'm
this guy.
No, but before you ask another serious
Believe
question,
it or
we
not,
gotta
they're
move
telling
on.
us to wrap it up. I don't exactly
I
know
want to.
why you
Wrap
guys.
what? This was fun for everyone.
It's the
For the
Lonely
record,
Island, guys.
I would have killed Hitler. So thanks, gentlemen.
Can I just clarify? if I did go back in time to kill Hitler, I would do it.
Yeah, yeah.
I wouldn't get
That's
lost
the-
in
that's
his
the front
eyes and
door
then
choice.
bail.
Yeah.
Just so I don't get like
thanks for
hit
having
from
us.
all the like
I know, all the-
defamation
Yeah,
leads.
no,
Yeah, yeah.
He would
Yeah.
end it. Yeah.
Pro.
Listen,
Okay.
man, I'm sorry about
We got to wrap it up.
I'm sorry
It's
about
over.
bringing up Hitler.
You really brought this live show to a new
This is
low.
the first one, right? This is your first interview?
It's just going to get worse from
This is
here.
the first time I've ever been interviewed a man.
Sign
If you
of
can bring
things to
Hitler
come.
into all of them, they're going to ask you back for sure, which is I know what you want.
That's what we're all hoping for.
Okay, tell him to go now.
You know, with Hitler, the more I learn about that guy, the more I don't care for him.
I can't. Yeah. And there's nothing redeeming about the guy. I talk to guys, I go, how on earth could these Germans, like, follow this lunatic, you know? And they're like, oh, he was an incredible public speaker, you know? He could hypnotize you with his public speaking. And then I see him, he's like, I go, what? That's not my idea of a silver-tongued devil, you know?
Tell me what it is with these gay guys.
I know, I'm already.
I just read this thing about the George
You're reading
Michael.
a lot, aren't you?
Yeah, I got a little time off. Now I read the newspaper. And this really strikes me about the gay community. I don't know if they're a community, but
called West Hollywood.
Yeah, they're gay, and it's, you know, George Michaels. He hangs around the bathroom. He has sex with multiple guys. This is
no way. You got to get it right. Hangs around the bathroom,
right.
And it was described as a lewd behavior, but I don't remember sex with numerous guys.
Well,
is that what you took away from it?
What does he do?
What were you, in the next stall?
I could have been just having a nice bathroom regular thing.
I don't know what lewd behavior is, but I don't know that he was in there with numerous guys. But anyway, go ahead. We get the gist of it.
This is definitely a gay thing, like, because this is a pop superstar. You know what I mean? You're not going to walk into a bathroom and all of a sudden Farrah Fawcett's like, you know? You're not going to...
What? I love it.
What I'm saying is, why would a famous
what was she doing? Was it some sort of cervical belt sander thing, or what was that? Oh, Christ, what are you, Linda Blair?
They do. That's what they do. Right?
That's what ladies that I know do. But
good to know that primetime exposure is paying dividends there.
But I think that's what it is. It's that the gay, that's why they have separate bathrooms. Let's face it. If they had women and, women, as you call them, I call them ladies. If you had them in the same bathroom,
like
you go in the bathroom to do your business, see a man about a dog there, you know, and you're in the bathroom. You're in the bathroom. All of a sudden, a beautiful lady comes out. Oh, here's my vagina and breasts. You're going to be hanging out at that bathroom a lot. So I don't blame anybody for anything. It was revealed today that O.J. Simpson told police that Nicole Brown Simpson used to beat him up. He also claimed that she and Ron Goldman killed him. O.J. Simpson's lawyers have decided to skip hearings on DNA evidence and go right to trial. Asked why they did this, the lawyers replied, "We want to get O.J. acquitted as speedily as possible so he can get back to doing what he does best, killing people." Oh, I have an announcement to read. I almost forgot. I was told to make this announcement. Table 10, wherever you are, table 10. We're sorry your waitress hasn't been there in a while. Larry King just married her. So, I have to say, though, this is an incredible thing for me. I'm just a punk, and yet here I am, I can't believe I'm speaking in a room. I'm standing in a room here with the most powerful man in the country, Alan Greenspan, and it's a little amazing to me. It's a little, Of course, that's the big story in here in Washington is the recent marriage between NBC's Andrea Mitchell and Alan Greenspan, who is 71 years old. And this is sweet, I didn't know this. They wrote their own vows, She promised to love, honor, and speak into his good ear. So that was... It's kind of sweet, Chris is a great guy, but he used to bring around women all the time to the show, Big, tall women, Big,
bruisers, you know? And he'd say, look, I'm heterosexual. I mean, he wouldn't say that out loud, but that's what that would be the caption on the picture in the New Yorker. Boy, those are funny.
So it was something related to his sexuality.
Maybe. But listen, if I call a person gay, that ain't no insult.
It's a good thing nowadays.
Yeah, if you say it's an insult, you're the homophobe, not me.
Correct. Supreme Court says so.
That's absolutely. I consider Amy Schumer the funniest person on the planet. If you take me out of the equation.
No, I meant me.
Oh, that's why you were coughing?
That's why I was clearing my throat, yeah. Not you.
I thought you were clearing your throat for me.
No.
Taking you out of the equation.
Yeah.
But you're funny in a different way.
Yeah, thank you, buddy.
In a brilliant move during closing arguments, Simpson attorney Johnny Cochran put on the knit cap prosecutors say O.J. wore the night he committed the murders. Although O.J. may have hurt his case when he suddenly blurted out, hey, easy with that. That's my lucky stabbing hat.
Norm MacDonald was the funniest man to ever live. That's something they could never take away from him.
Unless you kill your wife and a waiter, in which case...
Alright, that's enough. Throughout Norm's long and distinguished comedy career, we only ever got 2-hour-long stand-up comedy specials, one called Me Doing Stand-Up, and the other, Hitler's Dog, Gossip and Trickery. Today we will be reviewing the latter and taking a closer look at Norm's Netflix comedy special, Hitler's Dog, and I'll be sharing my thoughts on it and whether or not I think it's good, bad, or somewhere in between. That being said, it is a Norm MacDonald special, so I think a lot of you already know where this one is going. So if all of that sounds interesting to you, then let's hop right into it. To begin with, I hadn't watched this special in a really long time, and rewatching it several years later, it actually surprised me a lot. I used to think that Me Doing Stand-Up was the clear winner between the two, but Hitler's Dog has a lot of classic bits that are just so simple and unique, while also being brilliantly grim and deep. Without further ado, I'll go ahead and hop into the content of the special. The special begins with a shot of Norm walking through a park on a sidewalk, and while we see this nice B-roll footage, we hear Norm deliver the punchline to his classic bit about Bill Cosby being a hypocrite.
God damn, at least he's not a hypocrite. That's the worst. That's the worst part of it.
This is almost a subtle nod to Norm's diehard fans because he didn't even have to include the setup of the joke in there because Norm knows that we already know it. It's a great bit to start the special on, and then we see Norm transition into a bit about eating a pork chop and differences that exist when we eat at home versus when we eat at a restaurant. This is a bit we have seen on Letterman before, but it's nice to see the extended version of it in the special where it eventually goes into the way waiters talk to you when you're ordering dessert. Very funny stuff. One thing I noticed early in this hour and really appreciated about Norm's stand-up bits is how he takes his word choice into very careful consideration when doing the bits. It's apparent that Norm has worked very hard to select the funniest possible words for his audience. You guys might be thinking I'm overanalyzing this, and you may be right, but let me cook for a second. A lot of the words Norm uses have much harder consonants than other words.
Say, man, I'm gonna make myself a pork chop, cook it up till it's hot on one side, then turn it over, hot on the other side, cook it, and then cut into it a little bit, see how it's going in the middle. Guy comes, he's got a big tray, he had a canted angle, every confection known to man. Sure. Suddenly, his tone changes. It's not like the pork chop anymore. Some kind of sexual undertones going on.
A lot of comedians have talked about how words with the p, t, or k sound are funnier than words without them. Gary Goldman has even tweeted about this in his Comedy Tips series about how there's something prehistoric in our brains that make us laugh when we hear a certain sound or certain words. Norm definitely seems aware of this throughout the entire special, and he does not disappoint. The jokes themselves are super funny, don't get me wrong, but when you also use the funniest words when constructing the jokes, and you own a doghouse, there's just no way the audience isn't gonna love you. Anyway, let's get back into the content of the special. Norm's bit about the desserts at the restaurant gets really silly, and we get one of my favorite Normisms when he does the
you like this?
This will always crack me the fuck up no matter what context it's in. Then we see Norm do a silly bit about sex and how it's not interesting to him anymore, which then naturally transitions right into this bit about Abraham Lincoln saying score in George Washington's famous story about chopping down a cherry tree. The greater point of the joke ends up having nothing to do with George Washington at all, rather how fucking mortifying it would be if you were incapable of telling anybody a lie. You can genuinely hear in Norm's voice how troubling this topic is to him, and it it ends up being a great little non sequitur. I really like these jokes. Bits like this and other ones we will get into lead me to believe that only Norm could pull them off. If Norm was in a writer's room and gave this to even the most elite comedians working today, like Joe Rogan, Brendan Schaub, or Bert Kreischer, I really think they would struggle to make these jokes as funny as Norm. Okay, that was a joke, but seriously, Norm has this habit of lingering on jokes for a while and not being as concise as he could be, but it works especially well for him and his style. In fact, it's what a lot of people love him for, is his irreverence towards the rules of brevity. This isn't to say Norm can't have great one-liners. He does. Everyone who has watched him for a while knows he can come up with great lines on the spot as well. It's just that he finds a way to stretch these bits, waste your time, but make you happy while he's doing it. Once Norm has the skeleton of the joke compartmentalized, he just plays around with it, and he's so naturally funny that this really works in his favor. That's why I think most comedians working today, even if they were high-level comics, could not pull off what Norm does. Another thing Norm does tremendously well in his stand-up is cloaking his segues and really making it seem like a big, long stream of consciousness.
There's a real stream of consciousness thing happening here, Norm.
Yeah, it's called conversation.
Well, I guess it's more of a conversation, really. But Norm exemplifies high-level segues, making the entire specially incredibly easy to watch. Then we see a few jokes about why Norm doesn't like to go to parties because he feels like he's too dumb and doesn't have any strong opinions to tell anybody about, which is rich when you consider the fact that he graduated from high school at like 14 years old and was enrolled in university around 15 or 16 years old. I really like this joke about the triangular Cuban sandwiches because it really does remind me of how good these fucking sandwiches are for some reason. My family around the holiday season always buys these Cubans from a local sandwich shop, and good God almighty are they delicious. Norm is definitely onto something with this one. Moving on, several bits from this special we had seen in Norm's last Letterman set, or just a Letterman interview in general, like the next one we saw about him doing LSD and being disappointed that he didn't have a flashback like he was promised by his drug dealer. I think Bill Maher would be very proud of Norm for taking a stand against the big acid companies and voicing his issues with them on a billion-dollar platform like Netflix. Very cool of Norm to pretend to be a smart guy like Bill for this one joke. By this point in the special, we are about a quarter of the way through, and already I'm flabbergasted by how funny the special is. I really took it for granted the first time I watched it, but upon rewatching, I'm realizing just how clever, simple, but unique all of Norm's premises are. Furthermore, we would then see Norm get into this monstrosity of a bit that starts off with him talking to a vegetarian and realizing he's wrong morally, but this quickly escalates into his belief that if you woke up one day and realized you were wrong about everything, that you should hang yourself. He also has a throwaway observation that's so cartoonishly stupid you can't help but laugh your ass off. Norm says it's no coincidence that the rope store and the rickety stool store are always built right next to each other. Just a completely fake observation. This is one small detail that is a cherry on top of such an excellently written bit. Then we see Norm make a salient point about how a lot of people question the motive of people who commit suicide and pretend like they don't understand it, even though the reason why they're doing it appears to most people as glaringly obvious.
People commit suicide. People go, I don't understand why. And I go, you don't? Where, you live in a cotton candy house or something? What the fuck? You don't know about life? How it only disappoints and gets worse and worse until it ends in a catastrophe? What the fuck?
This is so twisted and morbid, but absolutely side-splitting. Then Norm takes it into a bit about autoerotic asphyxiation, which ends up being great. As aforementioned, the escalation from veganism into this bit about autoerotic asphyxiation is so gradual and natural that you really don't even notice it happening right before your eyes. Incredibly well done. A lot of people think Norm is funny, but really don't give his stand-up the respect it deserves. This is why I believe that George Carlin notably praised Norm in the 90s for his stand-up comedy, and Norm's ability to deliver this left-field style of observational comedy consistently throughout his act. Even if you don't think George was the funniest comedian in the latter half of his career, the dude knew what he was talking about when it came to praising funny people and giving them their flowers. Right after this bit about suicide, Norm follows it up with this dark but silly bit about what happens directly after you died. The delivery of this absurd joke all the way to the end is world-class and vintage Norm MacDonald. Then we see several more bits about suicide that are all pretty funny, and then this transitions nicely into Norm's bit about Las Vegas and the classic saying of what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. This is one we've seen Norm do for years, and he really expands on it in a way that he didn't initially on Late Show with David Letterman. There's an extra funny punchline that he obviously could not have said on TV, and it's a great incentive to watch the special if you haven't already. As much as I love the bit from the special though, it really doesn't feel the same without David Letterman cackling in the background.
You probably think of him as some that likes to bite the heads off of chickens, but this guy can...
Then Norm dives into the topic of smartphones and discusses the differences between taking pictures nowadays and pictures just 1 or 2 generations ago. The line, "Who's gonna feed them hogs?" lives rent-free in my head and probably always will after watching this special and Norm's last Letterman set.
Who's gonna feed the hogs?
Then we see Norm do a bit about Wikipedia, which happens to have one of the most noteworthy jokes in the entire special, in my opinion. My friend and I have talked about Norm's Claude Monet joke a lot because it's a massive subversion that you would never expect. When Norm says to his friend he's going to the bathroom to look at Claude Monet and he comes back after a half hour of looking and he just says he liked his paintings, that's fucking wild. He doesn't go any deeper than this, and the guy asking Norm about him fucking believes it. Most misdirection jokes are relatively simple, but Norm took this one so much further than necessary just because he felt like it. Fucking legend. Then Norm discusses the nature of fame and how it has changed by comparing the first people to go on the moon to Instagram booty models. And then Norm highlights the absurdity of what happened with the first spaceship to the moon and how Harrison Schmitt was not allowed to even leave the lunar capsule. Then we get to probably my favorite joke of the entire special when Norm talks about metaphors and how he appreciates metaphors where they are figuratively true while also being literally true. Incredibly grim, but so fucking funny, dude. I love this joke because of its simplicity, as well as Norm giving his sincere thoughts on what makes somebody beautiful. That was a nice touch. Then we see several more jokes about leading causes of death in America, teachers being the real heroes, and how the best time in Norm's life was the time before school when it was just pure and blissful. Then we hear Norm's classic bit about how the only country he's scared of is Germany on account of them declaring war on the world, and after this we hear the joke about the $6 million man. I will say this was the only bit that didn't strongly resonate with me. It definitely isn't Norm's fault he lost me. It's just because I'm not super well read on the content of the show and the commercial. He also talks about a few other commercials, the reverse mortgage, and then the 10 commandments of the scriptures, and then Norm ends the special with his bit that the title is referencing about Hitler's dog and how a dog's love is so pure and unconditional that even a man as evil as Hitler could be loved by one. A great closing bit for the special. All in all, I think for Norm's last comedy special released while he was still alive, this was an absolute heater. I think of the two, I still prefer me doing stand-up, but if it was a roll of the dice which comedy special I ended up watching, I would be just fine with either of these. I don't watch as many comedy specials anymore, but I'm happy I rewatched this one to make this video. I think Hitler's Dog is a deep look into the topics of Norm's mind while he was battling cancer with a beautiful cocktail of grimness, self-reflection, sincerity, and of course, humor. If you haven't seen the special, I'd recommend giving it a watch. If you're a fan of Norm, then you'd love it, and if you're not a super big fan of Norm, I think Hitler's Dog might change your mind on how good Norm is. Other than that, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure to leave me a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel if you're new, and hype the video to help more people see it, and comment your thoughts on this special down below. If you want more content from me, click the link on your screen to check out my last video where I compiled 30 minutes of Norm MacDonald brutally roasting people throughout his entire career. I know you'll love the video, so click the link to check that out now. Other than that, I hope you have a great rest of your day, and God bless. After his departure from Saturday Night Live, Norm MacDonald would go on to star in his very own sitcom titled The Norm Show.
I played Norm.
Even though Norm's fan base loved this show and the ratings started off strong, the network eventually made some horrible decisions with the show's scheduling, which eventually led to this great show dipping in ratings and being completely canceled. In today's video, we will be talking about Norm MacDonald's sitcom The Norm Show, where he played Norm, and how ABC's reckless handling of the show's scheduling led to the demise of an underrated sitcom starring our favorite chunk of coal. So if all of that sounds interesting, then get cozy and let's hop right into it. To begin with, let's establish a quick timeline of events that we can follow. The year is 1997, and Norm MacDonald has just been fired alongside head writer Jim Downey from Saturday Night Live. We would then see Norm host the ESPYs shortly thereafter, then star in his own hit movie titled Dirty Work, and then the year after, on March 24th, 1999, TV producer Bruce Helfert would collaborate with Norm MacDonald to ride his growing fame and create his very own sitcom titled The Norm Show. The show would shorten the name in September 1999 to Norm, 2 years before that horrible tragedy where all the stories came crashing down.
All the stories came crashing down, you know. A lot like when we tried to write on The Norm Show.
This was a preemptive decision to prevent any potential legal dispute. Anyway, let's take a minute or two to talk about the general storyline of The Norm Show. Norm's sitcom revolved around him as the main character named Norm Henderson, who is a professional hockey player who was banned indefinitely from the NHL for gambling and tax evasion. Norm, being the acting connoisseur that he is, method acted this role for many years by gambling and losing all of his money frequently before he even got the sitcom, just so he could really really nail the role when he acted. Which just proves my new theory. Richard Simmons is gay. Alright, I'll lay off, goddammit. Moving on, Norm would have a formidable comedic cast behind him, consisting of Laurie, who was played by Laurie Metcalf, Danny, who was played by Ian Gomez, Taylor, who was played by Nikki Cox, and in the second season we got to see Artie, who was played by Chris Farley. Wait, that's not Chris Farley, that's just some other fat guy. The plot would essentially just follow around Norm and all of his shenanigans at the office. A key detail of the show is that Norm had been assigned this job as community service for 5 years, which was the only thing standing between him and significant prison time, given all of his gambling legal troubles. Laurie and Danny are Norm's friends from the office who try to steer him away from his office rebel antics as much as possible, while their boss is Anthony Curtis, who constantly takes a much more direct approach to steer Norm away from being a degenerate. Thankfully for us, his efforts are futile and we get to see Norm wreaking havoc in typical fashion. Nikki Cox, being a stunning young smoke show, plays Taylor, who, just in case you weren't aware...
Look, Taylor, I don't think you understand. You're a huge whore.
Now that we have a general idea of what Norm's sitcom was like, how was it received by ABC's television audience? Well, as goofy as it sounds, it was really good until it wasn't. What do I mean by that? When the Norm Show first went on the air, it had a pretty elite time slot on Wednesday nights at 9:30 p.m. It also preceded the Drew Carey Show, which was a fairly well-retarded sitcom, so the show being well received by audiences was essentially a layup for the Norm Show. Not to mention that anybody tuning into a sitcom about Norm Macdonald filled with his style of humor, of course they were going to love it. The sitcom was essentially geared just for die-hard Norm Macdonald fans who wanted to consistently hear him rip on prostitutes and do his famous
You like this?
All things considered, the show was set up perfectly to succeed, and it did. The Norm Show in its first season was one of the most highly rated sitcoms on ABC among adults aged 18 to 49. And according to the Nielsen Media Research's cumulative viewer ratings for TV programs, the Norm Show was rated an 8.1 out of 13, which was pretty damn good. It was also ranked 46th out of 175 shows that were also on the rankings. It was crystal clear that even after Norm's time on Saturday Night Live, the people still wanted more from him, and they were going to get it. So upon seeing amazing results for the show from ABC's key demographics, you would think they would do the exact same thing and not start to enact bullshit changes, right? Well, you would be wrong. In season 2, we would start to see ABC experiment and shuffle around the time slot of the Norm Show, which would begin to create confusion and inconsistency amongst regular viewers of the show. According to Pop Matters' article on the Norm Show, during the second season, the show remained on Wednesday night, but they shifted the time slot 1 hour earlier, so it played now at 8:30 p.m. instead of 9:30 p.m. ABC did this for episodes 1 through 7 of season 2. Fair enough, ABC wanted to try a different show for the 9:30 p.m. time slot, so they moved the Norm Show around. Not a big deal, right? But then a few months go by, and they move it back to 9:30 p.m. once again for episodes 8 through 13. So the experimental time change must have proved to be ineffective initially, and they decided to revert back to the timing format that will allow the show to be as successful as it was in season 1. Great, now all ABC has to do is stay right there. But no, because nothing makes sense in this fucking world, they decide once again to move the time slot an hour earlier for the second time.
The second time.
For episodes 14 through 20 to wrap up the season. This would mark the third time that the show's time slot had shifted during season 2, which really threw the audiences for a loop. What's remarkable though is despite the time slot instability presented by ABC, the Norm Show would be rated a 7.8 out of 13 on the Nielsen Media Research cumulative viewer ratings for TV programs, which was not a massive decrease from the ratings of the first season. In fact, the show was still ranked 48th out of 175 shows that were rated, which meant it was still in the top third of TV shows overall. So even with the ridiculous amount of hurdles and obstacles presented through the volatility of the show's time slot, the fans of the Norm Show still found a way to watch the show and enjoy it. However, the third season is when things really started to come crashing down. Aside from the constant time changes of when the show would air, ABC would decide to move the Norm Show from Wednesday nights after the Drew Carey Show to Friday nights. This was a huge screw-up because the Friday night time slot on TV in general is often considered the Friday night death slot, given a Friday's show's likelihood to be canceled due to low ratings. Fridays are often nights when people go out and do shit instead of staying in and watching television, given most people's work schedules. So this was a death sentence to most shows unless your lead actor was Charlie Sheen or Jerry Seinfeld. The worst part was, there wasn't even even an announcement ahead of time that this was taking place. ABC actually aired the very first episode of season 3 on Wednesday night at 9:30 p.m. just like normal, but then the next week they pivoted the rest of the season to goddamn Friday night. Episodes 2 to 11 would air Friday night at 9 p.m., then we would see even more time changes for no reason at all. Episodes 12 through 14 would go back to 9:30 p.m., and then episodes 15 through 24 would shift forward again to 8:30 p.m. for no good reason at all. All of these time slot changes and moving the show to a Friday night was just an absolute nightmare, and the quality of the episodes would follow suit as well, and they would noticeably start to decrease in quality in season 3. True fans still enjoyed the show for what it was, but all of these factors, many of which were introduced by ABC, really put the show into a downward spiral. When the 2000 to 2001 Nielsen ratings came out, the Norm show had tumbled drastically down to a 4.3 out of 13 rating, which knocked it down to a ranking as well of 109 out of 175 TV shows on the air that year. The low ratings mixed with the dramatic time slot changes brought the Norm show to its knees in April 2001 when the season ended and ABC decided to cancel it, which perfectly solidified the trend of shows getting the Friday night death slot and then perishing shortly thereafter. When it comes to critical reception, the show had a pretty eclectic range of reviews. Norm Macdonald's sitcom often had a dry and sardonic style to it that people either really loved or really hated, or they thought it was just okay. But seriously, similar to Weekend Update, people either loved Norm's styles or just didn't really care for it. To refer back to an article from earlier, Pop Matters talked about how the Norm show was cynical but not mean. I mean, yeah, in the show Norm Henderson is a degenerate gambler who loves making fun of Taylor for being a huge whore, but if you watch Dirty Work, he did the same thing. So if you really watched Norm's work up until this point, you knew what you were getting from the sitcom. Sure, Lori, Danny, and Artie might have been underutilized at some points, but they're really just there to highlight what people already find hilarious about Norm and his antics, while being supporting roles along the way. All the criticism of the show dipping in quality during season 3 is pretty fair though. Even diehard Norm fans were disappointed by it. Ultimately, the show had its own problems, but ABC made sure the show was dead in the water by giving it every available obstacle to fail. Some fun pieces of lore I enjoyed from the Norm show though were the cameos from Richard Pryor in season 3 as Mr. Johnson.
But I'm going to give you a number that you can call. What the hell was that?
Win.
Win?
As well as Jack Warden playing Danny's father in season 1.
Nami, nami, nami. Hockey, nami. Hockey, nami.
These were some cool cameos I recall loving when I watched the Norm show for myself. All in all, ABC just had to try and tighten their grip on the show and move it around to different time slots and different days. That skewered Norm's sitcom, and by the third season it seemed like everybody had just had enough altogether, so the show went off the air in 2001, making this the saddest thing to ever take place in the year 2001. Thank you guys for watching the video. If you enjoyed me breaking down how ABC killed the Norm show, please make sure to leave me a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel if you're new here. Also, hype the video to help more people see it, and if you want more content from me, click the link on your screen to check this video out where I compile some of my favorite Norm Macdonald moments of all time. Click the link to watch that now. Other than that, I hope you have a great rest of your day, and as always, God bless. What's up, everybody? Today we're going to be taking Norm Macdonald comedy lore moments and ranking them on a tier list. I'm obviously going to be very biased in this, but let's go ahead and hop right into it. I think this one will be fun. The first thing we have is Norm ruining the big live YouTube comedy event, and if you haven't seen this, oh my god, you're missing out on one of the funniest things ever posted on YouTube. It's called like Live on the YouTube Red Carpet or something. I can't remember the exact name, but Norm just goes in there with the mission of absolutely sinking this event. Kasim is dressed in a suit, Jenny is dressed in kind of like a nice dress, and then Norm is wearing sweatpants and a hoodie in like the California heat in Pasadena, and he's just sweating his ass off, just absolutely lighting up Kasim, lighting and just making fun of all the people in the event.
All the stars are here.
It's true.
Beardy Man, Claude Racine, Dax Flame.
They're saying like it's the biggest event on the internet, and meanwhile he's like, I don't know who any of these people are. This is just like a certified legendary Norm Macdonald moment. It's probably gonna have to go in A tier for me. And I know you guys are like, dude, this is obviously S tier. And you know, I know I'm a professional Norm Macdonald glazer, but like in this one I'm really gonna try and put the absolute best things in here that I think deserve to go in S tier. But this one is solid. It's a classic moment. If you haven't seen it, you gotta go watch it. The next thing we have is Norm stealing comedians' material before before they would go on stage. This was a story that I heard someone tell where I guess there were these open micers who were doing 8 to 10 minute spots, and they were doing a corporate gig, and Norm was the headliner. I guess what Norm did is he told them, I'm going to go warm up the crowd. You guys just watch and learn and get ready to do your sets. Meanwhile, Norm goes up, and when he's on stage warming up the crowd, he's just stealing all of their material and ripping it from their grasp. So the novelty has disappeared, and a lot of the comedians would go up and try to do like crowd work and stuff, and it would just bomb, because they're like newer comics and they're still kind of figuring out what they're doing. So Norm is just sabotaging these younger comics, and then he goes up again after they all bomb horribly, and he just steals the show again. And they were talking about like, oh, Norm's jokes were better, but this was just such a funny thing to do, and it's funny for us. Like, we can privately laugh at this, but this is kind of a fucked up thing to do to a comedian. I'm gonna go ahead and say this is probably C tier, just because, this is kind of a mean thing to do, especially to people who are new at comedy. You're just kind of traumatizing them. And I know that, like, you gotta have thick skin to do stand-up, but it's still, like, a pretty horrible thing to do. The next thing is hosting the 6th annual ESPY Awards. This one's gonna go up in S tier right away. This is probably one of the best hosts, might have been the best hosting of the ESPY Awards by a comedian ever. If you haven't seen it, all the roast jokes are great. Norm had just gotten fired from SNL like a few months before this happened. I believe it was in 1997. So he went up there, he was like, you know what? I'm not gonna hold back at all. I'm gonna continue making OJ jokes. He was funny the entire time for like 8 or 9 minutes, and then he closed on this great joke that everyone and their mother who knows who Norm MacDonald is has probably seen.
He became the first defensive player to win the Heisman Trophy. And congratulations, Charles. That is something that no one can ever take away from you. Unless you kill your wife and a waiter, in which case...
People loved it, and people still talk about it to this day. Like Shane Gillis in the most recent ESPY Awards ceremony referenced a Norm joke. That just goes to show this is S tier, and I think it deserves to be. The next one is the time he went on The View and made the women uncomfortable talking about Bill Clinton. Once again, this is going in S tier. I know you guys are like, how can you put too many things in S tier? Guys, this is a Norm MacDonald tier list first and foremost. You know he's my favorite. Second of all, how can you not put this moment in S tier? If you haven't seen the clip, Norm MacDonald goes on The View. He's asked about George Bush, and he says, I just want to have someone who's not a murderer in the White House, referencing Bill Clinton. And then they ask, like, who was the murderer? And he immediately details that it was Clinton.
Who are the murderers?
Yeah.
Oh, Clinton, he murdered a guy.
Yeah, we're not allowed to, you're not allowed to put out no accusations without
That's a little too far.
That's the way it does work.
Do you never hear that?
No. Listen, we don't need to talk about that.
I thought it was a matter of record.
Shut up! Shut up!
Norm could not be more comfortable and could not be having more fun. He's just he has this shit-eating grin on his face, and he's just having fun making them squirm. The women of The View, they were so insufferable. He's making them very uncomfortable, and it's just so funny to watch. And this is absolutely an S-tier moment. Next on the list, we have talking to audience members after bombing. Now, this was a story that Jeff Ross told. Anytime Norm would do well at a show when he was doing comedy clubs before SNL, if he did well, they would go back in the green room and they would play poker, and he wouldn't talk to the audience. But if he bombed, he would go by the exit and talk to every single person in the audience. And that is just such a goofy ass thing to do. It's so funny because he knows it's gonna be like one more moment of discomfort for them. So he does it anyway, just for his own entertainment. And this is one of those moments that makes a lot of people kind of come to the conclusion that Norm was kind of just doing whatever he found was funny, and we were just the people who got to enjoy it. And I think that's really, really true. This is probably gonna go in B tier. This is pretty funny, but I wouldn't put it on the same level of like ruining the big live YouTube comedy event or hosting the ESPY Awards, but it's not as bad as stealing material from your opening acts. The next thing we have is more of an infamous moment of Norm MacDonald, something that I made a really cool video about that people really liked. So the lore here, if you're unfamiliar, is Norm was doing this corporate golf tournament in Iowa, and he was golfing with the governor, and they wanted to do like a corporate comedy show that was clean, that was going to raise money for charity, I believe. They basically advertised the show as like family comedy night. I think they said there was like almost 2,000 people in the audience at the University of Iowa in this big theater, and they hired Jim Brewer, Daryl Hammond, and Norm MacDonald from SNL. The reason they hired them was they needed it to be clean, and they assumed that because they're on TV, they're used to being clean. Jim Brewer goes up, does great. Daryl Hammond goes up, does great. And then Norm goes up, he's just absolutely filthy because they told him to be clean. And people are grabbing their children and leaving the event. And it's like, apparently it was estimated, I think in the newspaper, that Norm had walked 80% of the audience that had paid to see the show. The families left, the old people left, the kids dragged out by their parents. But the college kids stayed and they were loving it. They thought it was the funniest thing ever. This is something that, like, there's kids in the audience and you're going up there talking about having sex with an animal. That's pretty awful, but like, it's so funny that I don't think I would put it down in C tier. I think I'm gonna put it in B tier. It's one of those things that's really funny to laugh at for comedians, but like, you know, I do understand why people had a problem with it. That being said though, it's Norm Macdonald. You can't tell the guy what to do. Like, what did you expect? Did you expect to tell him how to do comedy and he was just gonna not make you feel like an idiot for doing it? And he got paid $15,000 for the event and disinvited from the golf tournament. Like, what a funny turn of events. But that being said, still pretty messed up if we're being honest. Next thing we have on the list is borrowing $500 from Kevin Nealon and losing it all while gambling. Borrowing money from a friend and not giving it back. Like, if we're being honest, it's pretty bad. You know, the story is funny, but like, it's not a very nice thing to do that. And then he ended up losing $5,000. He made a lot of money and then lost it all anyway. And this is like a common theme with Norm. So this I'm going to go ahead and put in C tier too, because I would say it's on the same level of like, you steal a comedian's material before they go on stage. It's funny to think about, but like if it happened to you, you'd be pretty mortified and you wouldn't be happy about it. So similar to Kevin, borrowing money from a friend and then not giving it back is pretty bad. So I think C tier is fair, even though it is kind of a funny story. The next one we have is Norm winning $50K at Atlantic City Casino and then throwing it all in the ocean. A lot of people don't know if this one's true or not, and I could see why people kind of question the validity of this. As the story goes, I guess Norm was at Atlantic City in New Jersey with Artie, and you know, he won $50,000 at the casino. But Norm, knowing that he would likely take the money to a casino and end up losing it anyway, he decided to take all that money and throw it in the ocean, which I don't know if it's true. This is one of those things that I don't think it's the funniest Norm story ever, but I think the fact that it's like a little silly, but it's not that horrible. We're going to go ahead and put this in B tier, along with talking to audience members after bombing and getting kicked out of Iowa. So that's where that's going to go. The next thing on the tier list we have is him showing up late to hang with Nick Swardson, then gaslighting him to stay longer and drink. This is a really funny story, and if we're being honest, this isn't really that bad. I think I'm going to go ahead and put this in A tier. If you don't know what the story is, Norm had asked Nick to hang out, and I think later in Norm's life, he was, you know, undergoing a lot of the cancer treatments, and as we know, he was very private about his cancer diagnosis. The only person who knew about it, I think, was his manager, Lori Jo Hoekstra, and his mother. I think those are and maybe his son. I think those are the only people that knew about his cancer diagnosis. So he basically invited Nick to hang out and watch sports at some type of bar. I guess Nick showed up, watches like a full baseball game, drinks, watches another baseball game, drinks more, and he's like really, really hammered. And then he gets ready to leave because Norm hasn't showed up. He thought Norm just blew him off. And as he's walking out of the venue, Norm is walking into the venue. And then he gets there and he's just like, "Hey, Nick, I'm here." And then Nick's just like, "Hey, dude,
You're 8 hours late. Like, well, have a fucking beer. Right? I mean, weird.
It's a funny story, and it's really not that bad for Nick. I mean, yeah, he kind of flaked on him, probably showed up late because of something like that, but it's really not that bad, and it's a very funny story when you watch Nick tell it. So this is going to go in A tier. The next thing we have is chairman of the board. S tier. Immediately S tier. Like, if you guys haven't seen this clip, you're missing out on some absolute heat. This is one of the funniest moments in late night television history. It's not even close. Conan had Norm on along with Courtney Thorne-Smith. Courtney Thorne-Smith is talking about this movie she's doing with Carrot Top and talking about, you know, all the stuff she's doing. And, you know, she's just having a great time. She's young. She's beautiful. She's talking to Conan. And then, you know, Norm is just over there making a mockery out of everything she's saying, but not in a way that makes him unlikable. In a way that is funny. In a way that she finds funny. In a way that Conan is just eating up and the audience is eating up. And then eventually they get to the movie title and she says chairman of the board and Conan says, "Do something with that, you freak."
I bet the board is spelled B-O-R-E-D.
Just fucking hilarious. Everyone shits on the internet, and I understand the internet's the root of a lot of evil, but the internet is also the reason we get to savor beautiful moments like this. What an amazing thing. I just had to put this in S tier. How could you not? The next thing we have is trolling Chris Kattan and stealing his shoes on their flight. This is a very funny story. Norm Macdonald and Chris Kattan, when they were on SNL, got into all sorts of bickering. A lot of people were kind of up in the air as to whether or not they actually had a real beef or not. It came out that they really didn't. They were kind of just messing around with each other. Jim Brewer has a funny story about the Twilight Zone sketch. This was one of the stories where Norm and Chris would go back and forth, and apparently one time they had a red-eye flight, and Chris had his shoes stolen by Norm, and then Norm, like, basically lied and was just like, "I didn't take your shoes." And then, like, I guess, like, months later, Norm was just like, "Yeah, I did take your shoes, by the way." Will Ferrell tells the story, Dana Carvey tells the story. I'm gonna say this goes in A tier. You know, Chris Kattan was slightly inconvenienced by this, but it's a really funny story. And the last thing we have is Norm concealing the real reason reason he was fired from Weekend Update. Guys, when Norm was initially fired from the show, everybody was thinking it was because of the OJ jokes. A lot of the people who asked why he was fired, he basically kind of subtly hinted at it in a comedic way, you know, the way Norm does, to the, it might have been the OJ jokes he had a problem with. And a lot of people took this as the real story for a long time. It honestly wasn't known for sure the real reason he was fired until after he died, because Jim Downey, who was the head writer of SNL for many years, went on Conan's show and told the story about Norm, about how Norm was asked about Jim Downey being fired and what he thought about it. And Norm basically said, if you fire Jim, you're gonna have to fire me too. Norm took this story to the grave. And the reason he didn't tell Jim, I can only imagine, is because he didn't want to big brother him. He didn't want to hold this shit over his head and be like, oh yeah, I got fired because I was trying to defend you, or I was standing by you. Like, he didn't need to say that. Jim didn't even know about that until after Norm died. And NBC producers told him. So the fact that he took that to the grave and he didn't make it about Jim, he made it about himself, is just a really, really cool thing for him to do. Might not be the funniest, but in terms of who Norm was and how much he cared for his friends, this is going in S tier. I hadn't done a tier list in a while, so I wanted to do one. And if you enjoyed this and want me to do this with like another comedian, like Shane Gillis or someone else in the future, leave a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel. Other than that, I hope you have a great rest of your day, and God bless.